Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to episode 65, I think, of the Captain's Lounge, Joe.
Sounds about right.
Again, for anybody that is not aware, it's your first time here. This is a stream where myself and my boy JP here get into everything pop culture and pop culture related in regards to nerdy stuff. And it's going to be a good episode today. We're going to have fun. We're going to get to everything lanterns, and I have a few other topics regarding animation and some other content creator conversation I think is going to be interesting to have. So before we get into any of that, JP, how you doing? How you feeling, bro?
For reasons I can't say publicly, but brother doing a lot better now. Uh, Doing real good. Plus, we get to talk about my twin today.
Twin.
Yeah, John Stewart, my twin.
I forgot you said you want to be a house cat so bad. I forgot. This nigga.
Hey, somebody said it last episode, so I'm just pushing it forward, pushing the
Man.
agenda.
This
But yeah, I'm
nigga
good,
here,
man. I'm happy to be here, bro.
Y'all, we're gonna have fun. We are going to be discussing a show that I've been waiting for a very, very, very long time. If y'all have watched the channel from the very beginning, you guys will see my John Stewart video, and you guys will know that John is pretty much, if not my favorite hero of all time, he's like in my top three. I love John Stewart with the burning passion, and for us to finally get him in live action, I was really excited, and honestly, hopefully to get a redemption arc for Green Lanterns on screen, because the Ryan Reynolds shit kind of killed that for a lot of people when even wanting to see Green Lantern on screen for a while. So me getting to see this and getting to see my favorite Lantern showcased and pushed to the forefront was something I was really excited about. So going into this, I was also interested from the standpoint of this show was, when it was announced to be a show that is going to be very true crime and very much like a detective mystery drama type of situation. So as we discuss this, there will be spoilers, but for this first part, we're going to talk about the show in a general sentiment in regards to how it's shot, what we feel about it from just like a messaging standpoint. And then as we get deeper into it, we'll get into spoilers. So I'll probably try to give a straight up like a spoiler alert. We're getting to everything detail oriented, but again, y'all have had like what, a day, 2 days now to watch the episode that came out on Sunday. So hopefully I can watch it. And then more than likely, we're going to be covering this every Tuesday. This will be like one of the revolving topics for the next couple months as this show is releasing. So I can look forward to that. Shout out to my boy Elias Cowell. What's good, my boy? Love to see new faces. But getting into it first and foremost, first impressions for me, I thoroughly enjoyed the tone of the show. I thought that the show being a little bit more darker, a little grittier, and honestly feeling like an HBO show. Like if you watch House of the Dragon, you watch Euphoria, like you watched any of the other historic HBO series, this fits right along with that. Especially if we're talking about True Detective and whatnot. It's darker, it's grittier, and it's essentially. I look at this. I was trying to like find a easier way to sum this up for people who may not be fans of Green Lantern, or maybe just not know what's going on with it. I look at this as like a nerdy version of Training Day almost, where you're gonna have a new trainee Lantern in John Stewart being taken on a roller coaster ride with the grizzled veteran who kind of does things his own way and also very damaged in Hal Jordan in this series. So that's kind of how I look at it. I've seen other people point to Men in Black. Men in Black is more so just a derivative of Green Lantern, for being honest, which is because if I don't know people know, like Men in Black is based off a comic book that was then based off of Green Lantern as well. So for the most part, but Jay, what were your initial thoughts on the series? Because I find this interesting to talk about here versus the Sunday stream because you are someone who is not aware of any of the Green Lantern lore or anything going on for the most part. So we're gonna have someone who is familiar and someone who's not familiar and kind of have both of those perspectives.
Yeah, very casual. So now I will say, my old man, which Charlotte knows, he loves John Stewart. So like, I'm gonna have to let him know that the show's out. And
I
I'm
did
gonna
not
make
know
him
that
watch it.
actually.
Yeah, he loves. I know a random fact, right? But yeah, loves John Stewart. So I knew it from him. I think he actually had some of his comics that he would show me, but I never really got into it that much. But I remember when this shit was coming out. Again, loved James Gunn's vision, so I didn't know really what to expect for the most part. I actually didn't watch any trailers either. I just kind of watched like any sort of snippet um, that they put on TikTok or whatever, but I didn't watch anything. I was really surprised about the tone. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but I did like this sort of grittiness. I mean, there was jokes obviously in there, but the jokes didn't feel like MCU jokes. Like it was just
Mm.
kind of like it kind of fit the moment real well. Their dynamic definitely did feel very Man in Black when Will Smith was like getting on like in the first movie. I think it did feel very like a oh, I want to do this the right way by the book. I'm just trying to prove myself versus like the gritty, like, hey man, like this is how I've done it before. This is what they put me for the job. So I really like the dynamic. The acting was good. And that's kind of like something that's like, well, whatever is an HBO show, but the acting's good. Like you can tell. God, I forget the actor's name who's playing Hal Jordan, but he's
Kyle
playing the
Chandler.
shit out of that role. Yeah, he's playing the shit out of that role, man. Like he feels like, and again, we'll talk about more spoiler stuff later, but he feels like the best way I can explain it, and I told Diesel this before we got on here. He feels like what a older white man would feel like after having power for that long, like the cockiness, the arrogance, the sort of like I'm willing to die right now, like that sort of vibe. Like he plays that so well. That made me both kind of like how John said in the story or in the series, like yeah, I kind of admired him, but like yeah, it's just something about it. So like, everything that they did there was great. The story itself was the detective story was really good as well. I guess the last thing I would say before we like really start diving into it, and this might seem random, but you mentioned Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern. Uh, a big thing for me when I really started watching shows, like how was the actual Green Lantern animation was going to look like? Like, would it look clunky? Would it look weird? Especially since it being a TV show, I thought it was sharp. Like this, like I don't even. I can't. I guess that's spoiling it. But like the scenes where like Hal actually used it, like I thought it looked really well. It actually felt pretty tangible and real because my fear was that it looked like I don't know. Like I haven't watched that Ryan Reynolds movie in years, but it felt very sort of when I watched that. You can feel the CGI. This felt very tangible. Felt like okay, like this is a legit thing. So yeah, I mean, we can go into more of the actual stuff, but that's like my first initial impressions of it.
Yeah, I think before we get into the show and stuff, I think the last thing around like the tone of it that I enjoy is just the idea. Well, not even just the show in particular. I love that. Again, this is a big thing I'm enjoying with the DCU and his first couple projects. Every show and every project feels different. It has its own tone.
Right. Right.
I can watch Superman and I get an entirely different vibe than I get watching this versus Supergirl versus Creature Commandos versus Peacemaker. Like everything feels like its own identity, and it feels like that gun is allowing directors and creators to do their thing. Like obviously, there's like a brief sort of timeline and thing to keep in track because this show does take place before Superman makes his appearance and after Superman makes his appearance. Because canonically in the DCU right now, Superman makes his first appearance in 2022. And we've seen in Superman, he's been active for around 3 years. So this show starts off showcasing other metahumans because if I remember correctly, the like metahumans on Earth in the DCU made their first appearance in like 1976 or like the 1970s. And then we get into 1996 in this show. Obviously, we're seeing Green Lantern make his first appearance. And then 2022 onward is like Superman kind of breaks onto the scene and we see like this new age of metahumans kind of making their appearance to the mass public of the world and whatnot. And it's very interesting in this show because we get to kind of see the up close personal perspective of how people on Earth feel about these things at this point in time. And we'll get into that stuff later on. But before we get into giving our own talks about it, I think I do want to speak briefly on your point around the way the rings were used. And I was curious about that as well going into it because for the most part, if y'all aren't aware, with a lantern ring, you can legit do fucking just about anything. You can create anything. We've seen Kyle Rayner make like mechs. I've seen literally John Stewart has done some of the most broken shit ever with this shit, where he's legit made sentient armies to fight for him. He's created a literal like clone of himself that had his own memories from the ring. He essentially brought the memory of his dead sister back to life and she became sentient in the ring. Like there's just some crazy shit that gets off in the comics in regards to the ring. So I was curious as to how we were going to see this thing that happens in regards to the rings and how they would depict their creativity there. And also how the things that they would create out of the constructs would also reflect them. I think that's another cool thing about the comic books is that the heart-like construct each lantern chooses to use is usually reflective of who they are. So again, Hal is very immature and he's also a pilot. So you'll see him conjure airplanes and his big bats and boxing gloves. John usually makes a lot of guns or things because he's an architect in the comics as well. He does these really intricate designs and things like that. And because Kyle is an artist, he makes like mechs and all kinds of other crazier animated things of that nature. That's kind of what he does. But in this show, we saw it be used, like the creativity in it being really reserved thus far, being used for the most part, just like making a dollar bill. It's being used to, legit, just like as like a lighter to a certain extent. But the writers in themselves have reasoning as to why they went around that direction. I really like the reasoning they have here.
Show where it's like, well, these guys can fly, but they never do. But that creates a creative problem. Every time they face a problem, you don't want to be going like, why aren't they just using their ring to solve it? We had to start to talk about and create a construct, no pun intended. They were really treating the ring the way that people treat weapons in the real world. Just because a police officer has a gun doesn't mean that they should always draw it. And when they draw it, it doesn't mean that they should always fire it. The world knows that they're space cops, but the idea that they're not walking around in their uniforms.
Right.
What if they only use these powers when they absolutely and totally had to?
So I think that's another cool thing about the show is that it's reflecting on and making sure the idea that they're cops be very present. Because I think sometimes in Green Lantern comic books, people forget the idea that they're like cops essentially because they do bigger than life things and they end up fighting large threats like Darkseid, or maybe, or like you see them on the Justice League. So you don't really see them do as much day-to-day activity if you're not reading their actual comics. And even then, depending on certain events, they end up doing like life or universe-saving, galaxy-saving events. You don't see them do a lot of the day-to-day space cop stuff unless you're reading certain comics. So the fact that they are treating them in a realistic way like cops in this show is interesting because it means that they're treating their weapons how real life cops use their weapons, right? When you talk about a real life police officer, they're usually not going to discharge their weapon unless they absolutely have to. They don't even draw their weapon unless they absolutely have to, because it's that idea of being responsible with it. Because they not only have like the equivalent of a gun, but they have the equivalent of a nuke on their ring finger.
Yep.
So I find it very, very interesting in how they went around depicting that. And I think it's also an easy way for them, an easy cop out for them not to have like John or Hal making constructs left and right to fight stuff. And even keep the fighting for the most part to a minimum. So I feel as though obviously they're going to wait till like the last few episodes in the last episode to like burn a lot of that budget on the constructs more than likely, because I have seen like the one thing I saw was that we do see Sinestro in this at some point in the series. So I don't know if they'll end up in like a lantern fight versus Sinestro, like as far as like a Yellow Lantern thing. I don't know, we'll see. We'll probably see Oa at some point, so I feel like they'll use a lot of the CGI budget on the space planet of Oa and all that good stuff and seeing other aliens, so maybe. But that I find interesting. But to get into some of the actual like details of it all, again, the show essentially is going to be bouncing around 3 different points in time. Well, for the most part, 2. We see 3, but I feel like the show's gonna bounce between 2. It starts off in 1996, where you're seeing a child, John Stewart, look at a TV broadcast that the whole world is getting of Hal Jordan kind of explaining to the world, like a 60 minutes type of interview, what a lantern is, what he's doing, because for the most part he's been active for I think like 6 years up until this point, and he hasn't really told the public about who he is or given that like that public interview like on some Iron Man shit. So we're seeing this broadcast where he's discussing the whole idea, and we're getting introduced to John Stewart. And I think that this is very interesting. And for me as a big John fan, I was curious as to like what direction they were going to take as far as his origins and how they would make him. Because obviously he is a military veteran, a lot of different versions that you see of him. He's also a big architect, mostly for a lot of different places you see him. And in the original comics, again, if y'all want more of a breakdown of like the original lore of John Stewart, I did a whole video years ago where I broke it down in the video essay that you can find on the channel here. But the quick rundown of it is, Guy Gardner gets hurt for whatever reason, so he's out of commission, and the Guardians are like, all right, we need to have somebody backed up in his space. There's like a second lantern on Earth. So I think it was Ganthet, I can't remember which Guardian it was, saw John for whatever reason, was like, he's the guy, he's the one. Hal, go get that guy, go train that guy. And Hal initially approaches him, John's not really down for it, and eventually he's kind of convinced to do it and whatnot, and John then takes up the mantle of Green Lantern, the third Green Lantern on Earth at that point. Well, technically the fourth, but the third official one connected to the actual Corps, because the first one, blanking on Buddy's name, he was like the OG from like during World War II times, but he wasn't, his lantern battery and ring wasn't connected directly to the Guardians itself. It was like some whole other thing. Plus like wood was like a weakness for him, I believe is that point. It was weird shit with that one. But the big thing that I was concerned about was if they were just going to make him the military veteran. Because I do think that was something that I didn't enjoy as much. Alan Scott, thank you. That was the original Green Lantern, original white guy. But that's something I didn't enjoy about the Justice League Unlimited version of him, where they kind of limited him to being the military man. And that becomes like his entire personality. And again, I understand it to an extent. That's part of why I liked him because, again, I grew up in a military town, part of a military family, so I kind of resonated with the character. But him being an architect is something that I think is really important to the character in regards to, especially him using the ring. And in this version, it seems as though they leaned heavily into the military aspect, and also to an extent, they leaned into his father being kind of abusive to an extent. Because again, in the comics, his father is an alcoholic that beats on him for the most part and ends up like abandoning his family, and that becomes a whole thing. So he's like his father beats on him. His mom dies of some sickness, I think cancer. That he ends up going to live with his auntie. And it seems as though in this version of the show that although he has a relationship with his father still, his father is still really fucking abusive because you're seeing his father do things like shoot apples off of his head as like a frequent thing, which I think is fucking insane. Which again shows it almost feels as though that his dad was trying to prepare him to be the next Green Lantern from like early age. But how they know that fear is a part of that, I don't know. Maybe it's just him just trying to toughen him up to be a military vet. Because we also find out later in the show that not only does John follow his father's footsteps in joining the military, being I think he's joined the Marines or the Navy, I can't remember which branch. But he's like a decorated sniper in military. So he's seen combat, he's murdered. So he is like literally fearless for the most part in the way he's depicted in this version of John Stewart.
I think he's Marines because Marines, I don't know if that's intentional, but most in the military space, like Marines are like out of all of them, like they're the ones that be doing the most extreme shit. So him being a Marine sniper on top of that, yeah, fearless.
So that was dope. So that's the version of John we're getting. We're getting somebody who's going to be very similar to what you've seen before. If you watch Justice League Unlimited, you've seen a lot of the other animated adaptations of them, or even some of the comics. You're going to see a relatively accurate John Stewart, someone who is very not well spoken in regards, not in regards to his ability to speak, but in regards to how often he speaks. Like he's a man of very few words, and he conveys a lot of his emotion through facial expression, through mannerisms. And it's funny enough because you see how kind of reference that a lot in the early conversations. He's like, I know you're pissed at me, but you're not saying it, but I know you're irritated as fuck at me right now. And you should express that. But John's like, I'm military man. I respect the chain of command. I'm not rocking the boat. That's this again, how you would expect from a career military man. So when you were moving forward with Hal, I think Hal is the version that is probably the most different. Again, I don't think he's significantly different than the comic book Hal Jordan, but I do think this is a more like cynical, traumatized version of Hal Jordan, where obviously something's happened in his early career as Green Lantern in 2006 that caused him to not really want to follow protocol as often. He obviously is not wearing the suit as much anymore, and he's a super asshole. And again, if you watched a lot of like cop dramas and buddy cop dramas, again, like a Training Day, you've seen this version of this character before. This older white cop who's a detective usually, who's been on the job for a long time, who knows his city, who is kind of moving by the beat of his own drum, even at the detriment of other people. That's essentially how Jordan is. And he's goofy, he gets his jokes off and whatever it may be. And I think that serves to the benefit. I think this slight change in the character is really dope because I think they play off of each other very well in that. Having somebody who is fresh and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and respects the chain of command, and someone who has been a part of the command for a long time and is like, yeah, fuck them rules. I do what I want. That is cool as fuck to me. And we get into the situation to where John is being trained by Hal in this show, where he's a trainee. And I think this is the key difference between the comics version of how things went down and the show. Because the show is saying that there is only one lantern on Earth at a time, which for the most part was true to an initial extent, but obviously over time you saw Guy Gardner get involved, which I think in this show as well, they're having it to where John is recruited before Guy, I believe. Which again, we'll figure out what's going on here, because I remember I saw an interview where the writers were saying that at the end of this episode, where Hal's ring is missing, Guy now has that ring. So we know Guy Gardner is active by 2026, and he has Hal's ring. So how that's going to happen, I don't know yet, but before I continue to rant on, because I've been doing a lot of comparing and contrasting from comic book stuff to the show itself, what were your initial thoughts on just how Hal and John were like introduced and depicted?
Yeah, no. I think the comparison between comics and for me that was helpful. I know we're already tiptoeing into spoily stuff, but I'm about to just like basically like talk about specific scenes that I really like.
Yeah, so spoilers here, like legit spoilers here for people that have not watched the episode yet. But
the scene where I knew the dynamic from the jump was gonna be interesting when he's like, they're doing the back and forth, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know that you're pissed at me." He's like, "No, sir," like he's doing the whole like formality thing. And I think it got to the point where John basically started speaking up a little bit. It's like, yeah, so when do you think I'm going to get the ring? And like, Hal's like, when the ring will fucking choose you. Like, you know how this shit is. He's like, well, and then they just kind of go back and forth about this a little bit. He was like, you know what? Hold the ring real quick. He's like, there's a taco stand 3 or 4 miles from here. I'll meet you there. And this fucker jumps out the car. this dude jumps out the car. Mind y'all, when he's jumping out the car, they're on a curve off a ramp, like down like this huge ass mountain, basically. So I'm just like, if John doesn't grab this and think properly about something he's gonna do, he's gonna die. Like he's 100% gonna die. So like from the moment that happens, obviously John's fine. He comes up with something with some contraction and makes it
Bubble wrap.
He made bubble wrap. So like when he got there, he was just like, "What?" Yeah, I said, "Dude, I'm training you. Like this is how it is. Like you know you're gonna have it." But then he was like, "What did you make?" He's like, "Bubble wrap." He's like, "Bubble wrap? Really? Bubble wrap?"
Lame,
Just,
man,
like,
nigga.
I was like, right. It was like from dinner, I was like, okay, this is their interaction. It's just like his training is very much of the school of thought of for you to be fully ready. I just need to throw you in the fire. There is no like hand holding with this. It's just like either I'm going to throw you in the fire or I'm not going to explain it because I feel like you'll be able to explain it yourself and figure it out. So just seeing those dynamics of like throughout this whole episode, it's basically Hal being like, hey, this is a teaching moment. Watch this. Like he ain't giving him no rhyme or reason or no explanation. And you can tell like the whole episode, there's people around him being like, man, Hal's really an asshole. But like quickly, John's always like, nah, man, I respect that. Like there's a part of him that, I really appreciate. So you can tell.
Man. That's how like
that's what I'm saying.
For the most part, that's
It's
how she goes. Yeah.
But I think they're gonna lean in that later on because again, the first scene is him as a kid seeing him being like, I think he said in that interview, his Iron Man type interview, he was like, when I was given an opportunity for a ring, I was asked, are you afraid? And then he looked in the camera and said, I'm not afraid. And I just really think that basically molded him, plus that weird relationship with his dad, how he shot a fucking apple off his head, turned him into this like, hey, this is all a test. Now, is this fair to John? Probably not, but with that military background, he probably only sees this as that tough love that's necessary to be what you need to be for the Green Lantern. So I am curious as time goes on, like how that dynamic shifts to when he realizes like, oh, okay, well, I understand this is my background, but at some point, like it's going to come to a head. So, but as of right now, you can tell this, I think there's mutual respect, but it's definitely Hal just being like, hey, just follow my lead. Just trust me, bro. Just trust me. So, but it's funny to watch. It's very entertaining to watch.
Right. And I think the interesting thing that we're going to see is how layered the show is. And funny enough, my boy Unlucky Dreamer kind of alludes to it. He said, "What's up, y'all? What's thoughts on Obama?" And we're gonna get some of that stuff here.
We'll get to that.
But real quick, Action Back's question. He said, "How it get to the taco stand first without the ring? Was the residual in it?" Bro, I think he legit just walked there. Because obviously they would have gotten there like close to around the same time. Because John also didn't fly there. He walked there he walked there too. And he also didn't know where the fuck to go. So I'm assuming like how does walk to the stand? I think that's one of those like disbelief things you have to kind of just accept in a comic book show or movie, whatever it may be, the sense of disbelief. But this show was a lot more layered than I thought it was going to be initially. And this is where I swear to God, by the end of this season, we're going to get a lot of the camo wearing, shades wearing crowd, conservative Federal flag wearing, raising crowd. They're gonna call this show woke as hell because you're gonna get into a lot of conversation around police and corrupt police and how they operate and things of that nature and how they move. Because especially if you guys are familiar with the Red Lanterns and how they operate, or even how things like the Manhunters were in the comics. They've already touched on that a lot in the comic books, and I think they're gonna do that on 10 in this series. Not only that, but we're going to see the way that Black people are looked at in these structures. And funny enough, I think I discussed a little bit in my Sam Wilson video, but it's the idea that you cannot change a system from inside the system. You can't change the system with the tools that the system bestows upon you. If things are corrupt, they're going to be corrupt, whether you're inside of it or not inside of it. And we see some of the difficulties in it because you're seeing a moment in which it's right after the car crash, and John he's pissed off. Now that Hal's not around, he's kind of letting out a little bit of his emotions out. Like you can see like the real John, and he calls his dad, and he's letting his dad know that, hey, this nigga tried to kill me. Like, I'm pissed off, I'm annoyed. And his dad gives him the military thing. He's like, hey, lock in. They're allowed to have tantrums. You're not.
Yeah.
And I swear to
Yeah.
God,
I leaned in when he said that. I was like,
if you are a black person or a black man or woman and you grew up in a military household, you've heard this conversation before. The idea that white people are allowed to act in emotional ways within structures and still be perceived as fine and in control, but you can't because you have to go above and beyond to be taken equally, taken seriously within the structure.
right.
And you see this, and I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing John try to keep his composure the entire time when he's like getting, like when Howell's poking at him, he's just keeping his composure because he understands, hey, I'm a black man. I'm in a position in which I'm an understudy. I have to make sure I'm doing everything perfect so that I can get the job that I really want. And I find that so interesting. That's something they allude to in multiple different instances in the show. The idea of John having to just to do better because he's a black man in this structure, and how he takes a lot of his stuff that he hears about from them, that he goes through being a military man in this now. And I find that very, very interesting.
I mean, and you saw that multiple times, right? Like, I think the one that stood out to me was when they get to the crime scene, right? Like, again, we're talking about John walking to the taco stand. On the ring of Hal's consciousness comes out, and he's like, "Hey, like, tell him this catchphrase about something in Nebraska." And then, like, once he tells Hal that he fucking dips, mind you, he has to like now fly his way with his own money probably and head out to Nebraska. But when they get to the crime scene, I find it so interesting. And this is where you really see, and maybe I'm being too woke about this, but like that race dynamic at play. Because Hal, as a white man, just like, I don't give a fuck about this jurisdiction. I'm gonna go in and do what I need to. I think this is the right thing to do. While you see John be like, hey, I think he even says it. I gotta respect the chain of command because he knows if he did something like that, and he tried to. You remember? Because like he tried to be like, hey, I'm with Hal. I'm about to walk through. He's like, oh, whoa, whoa. The police officer's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm with Hal. It's not only until right. It's like it's only until he realized, oh, he's with Hal Jordan. He was able to walk by, and I think actually even after that, they still wouldn't let him. He just walked by anyway. But it's just like just the fact that he knows that like, hey, I gotta play it the right way because everybody else is gonna look at how I respond to that. You see those dynamics even there as well. And hell, even I think it's even funny when Hal was about to go to jail basically, and a lawyer came in to save him. Now, rightfully, that goes later on to the story, but just like if this feels like okay, if that was John, would have happened? Would the lawyer came in and saved him? Probably not. Even if he's the trainee, do you think they would have went that far of effort to do that?
Possibly. I think part of that. Now, I don't. At least for me, from my perspective, I don't look at that as racial commentary as much as that cop commentary, because I look at it as like a continued version or continued talking point from the Ring instance, like right after the car crash, where we see John interacting with the consciousness of Hal. Which again, this is another dope thing that I think they added to the universe of the Green Lantern Corps that I don't recall. Y'all let me know in the comment section. I don't recall this ever being a thing canonically in the comics. The situation where the Lanterns essentially have like not a body cam, but a backup consciousness that they have to upload to the Ring every 2 weeks. And this consciousness is like an emergency contingency for if they die and the next person gets the Ring, they have like this slight training module to explain things to that person with the consciousness of the prior Lantern. And the one that we see is one that hasn't been updated for 10 years. We are in 2016 as far as like most of the when the show takes place, and we see a version that was last updated in 2006. And this version of Hal seems to be a lot more like by the book. Again, this is like he's 10 years removed from doing that news report from 1996, and we're seeing that this version of Hal isn't as he's not as much of an asshole. He's a lot more cleanly put together. Like he's more groomed and whatnot. He's not as cynical. So it seems as though something happens in 2006 to like make him kind of go off the rails. And it seems like he's a lot more by the book because he's like talking to John like, hey, this is the protocol for this. Did I not show you this? Did I not teach you how to fly? Did I not show you X, Y, and Z? And John's like, no, what the like? He's like, oh damn, I'm an asshole right now.
Right.
And to the people in the comment section, yeah, I understand they make sentient constructs. I talked about that earlier, but in regards to that being a thing that the Lanterns require, like it's not something that's required. The sentient constructs is more so a thing that happens accidentally or something that like only the creme de la creme of Lanterns can do to make like you have to have immense willpower to make a sentient construct in the comics. But in this thing, it's like it's like a required thing that they have to do. They have to upload it every 2 weeks. But
it makes me wonder if Hal hasn't done it in 10 years, has Guy done it at all?
And that's the interesting thing. That is the interesting thing is that we're gonna see how Guy operates. This Guy very much so seemed to be like someone who was not as by the book, and it also seemed like he wasn't as like locked into lantern rules as well. Like he applied. It felt like he felt a lot more akin to like the comic book version of a Green Lantern, to where like they only really go back to Oa for real when they're called or when like they're doing like whenever they're doing like cop shit. But for the most part, they kind of just get to chill and do whatever they want to do on Earth, like a part of the Justice League or whatever and whatnot. But it's also the mystery of this thing. I think that's another thing to discuss with this show is that there's a lot of breadcrumbs being placed in this first episode. And one of those is, funny enough, what people are kind of alluding to was the idea that aliens are very much so present and unaware in the show. Like they're present, but you don't know they're there. And they even discussed at a certain point in time is that a lot of the aliens from different planets are people who have the technology to disguise themselves as humans on Earth, even going through things like CAT scans or any kind of other medical analyzation you could do on Earth. Like they just get past all that shit. And somebody brought it up in the chat here, and I was wondering this as well when I was looking at it, was that the woman that Zoe Macon that John clapped cheeks with, which is crazy. That nigga John was in Nebraska for all of like 24 hours and clapped somebody grandma cheeks and then kept it pushing. I was like, bro, what are we doing here? That boy said he had a little bit of attention and didn't know how to act. But the theory is that this woman is going to be Kat Matui, which again, if y'all aren't familiar with the character of Kat Matui, she's like one of the main love interests that John has in the comic books. And if you watch the Justice League the animated series show or Justice League Unlimited, you see Kat Matui in that. Kat Matui is also in the comics the one I believe she was the one that trained John in the comics. I can't remember, or it may have been, well, depending on the version. I know originally it was Hal that was training them, but I can't. It just depends. It's a lot of shit. The nigga John's been around since like the '60s, so shit changes. But yeah, Buddy was clapping grandma cheeks and didn't even know her name and kept the push. I thought that shit was funny as fuck.
You gotta release that tension, man.
But even more so, I'm curious to see like what other characters are going to be hidden aliens and how that's going to operate. Especially when I'm looking at a show like Peacemaker and how we saw like there's a whole race of people that were there that were meant to like the I call them the Tooth Fairies from watching Hellboy, like the little Tooth Fairy people. But it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with the show and how mysteries unravel, because it definitely seems as though it's going to be a bigger mystery that's going to be layered very differently as well. I'm also curious as to what parts of the comics and what overall story they're kind of going with. Because it feels like for most of these projects, for the most part in the DCU, they've been adapted from some significant comic book story. And seeing that Hal was going to be more of an asshole and seeming as though he was going to be very kind of power hungry and reluctant to give up the ring, which is also interesting because he's like reluctant to give the ring up and to give up the responsibility of the Green Lantern, but he's also kind of suicidal at the same time. It's very interesting because I feel as though, I think most people feel as though they're going to go towards the Parallax line, the Parallax side of things, where you're going to see a version of a Hal who is going to be power hungry, or who's going to be, I know originally Parallax was just like this alter ego that he developed where he became a villain and murdered all the Lanterns, and then they like retconned that shit later on where it was the entity that lived within the Lantern Valley, the entity for fear. And in the comics, the Guardians took the entity and like hid it within the Green Lantern power battery on Oa. And I feel like they're kind of moving in a similar fashion, because even in the opening credit scene, you have that opening stinger where it's like you're kind of getting a POV view coming out of the ring, and it's like yellow on the inside of the ring, and it comes out to being more green. I find it very interesting, especially when I remember when they first showed Hal's suit and it was like a yellowish tint to it. People also kind of looked at that as a sign that the Yellow Lanterns will probably make their appearance in the show at some point soon. So I'm curious as to like how far they're going to jump into the Lantern lore and like the emotional light spectrum. If they're going to keep it to like a Yellow Lantern thing, or if that'll even be a thing. But we're gonna see. Emerald Twilight was the original thing where Hal became Parallax. Thank you, Action Packed FTW. But it's gonna be interesting, gang. It's gonna be real interesting. I'm so curious as to like what they're gonna do for the show, because again, there's a lot they can do. The Lantern lore has changed a lot over the years, and there's a lot they can do between the emotional light spectrum. There's so many other Lanterns and so many other things that happen, from the Manhunters to the Yellow Lanterns to the Red Lanterns. All those things I could see being something that is a big part of this show. But again, I've been on a monologue for a minute, kind of comparing and contrasting again. What were your thoughts on the stuff you've seen thus far, regards to like the lore?
Oh, I thought for a casual person, I'm completely swept in because now again those questions that I asked, and again there might be some stuff that's related to the show as we talked about with the construct being put in your mind, like you scanning yourself and you putting I guess like a sentient version of yourself. Uh, but no, like the whole concept of like the ring chooses you and the whole concept of training. And like I think people alluded to in the show is like, oh, like Green Lanterns have trainees. Like, how does that work? You're all space cops, space cops, space cops. So this idea of like you're supposed to serve and protect. I mean, there's that and I was gonna ask you, there's that monologue that goes to when Hal goes interrogating the alien. Like, is that monologue that he said what the Greenlanders are supposed to do? Is that like the typical thing to serve and protect or whatever he was saying during that scene? Like, is that actually from the comics or like that's something that he just made up straight up?
That's the interesting thing. Because funny enough, House has a lot of shit that is canonically how things happen in the comics, but he could be lying, and I think he's kind of almost like an unreliable narrator. So like when he first tells John how he got the ring, where he met Abin's sword, like that's what typically happens in the comics. When you or even in some of the live action stuff, you typically see that be the thing, where Hal finds Abin's sword crash landed and wherever they are, and he gets the ring from him, and Abin's sword gives it on. But I feel like he may have been lying to an extent, like he wasn't telling the whole truth. And lanterns, obviously, for the most part, they do operate like space caps. They're meant to serve and protect. They each have their own sectors they serve, that they protect, and whatever it may be. And that's what they do. That's what they normally do. But then you also see deeper into the lore as the curtains are pulled back when you get like to the Red Lanterns. The Red Lanterns obviously were formulated from Atrocitus, who's like the big main like first Red Lantern, and Atrocitus kind of gives details on how the Manhunters were created and came and slaughtered his people and left him fucking desolate. In the comics, initially the Green Lantern Corps was not the first attempt that the Guardians had to patrol the galaxy. Their first attempt was the Manhunters. Manhunters were essentially these androids that the Guardians they created to operate as Green Lanterns. They went to each planet saying like, "Hey, we're here to patrol, protect, whatever it may be," and eventually, the Manhunters had some kind of defect within them that caused them to commit a lot of murder, and they just like fucked up, and the Guardians had to like put them away and like decommission them. But the damage had already been done, so it's like part of like the dirt that the Corps itself and the Guardians themselves have kind of done the fuck up shit. So like for the most part, there are most planets within the galaxy and within the universe like respect the Lanterns for the power's sake of what it is, but they don't fuck with them for real. Because again, in the same way that we look at cops as like regular people, how they're this force that we have to respect because they have so much power and authority. But we've seen so many corrupt versions of them and so much fucked up shit that the system has done structurally as like police officers that we tend to not trust them or tend to not like them, especially if you're someone who is from a minority background or more of an impoverished background where you're seeing them patrol your area in a much more aggressive way and operating in a much more aggressive manner. And that's kind of how that's so. I mean, I'm curious to see like how much of that is going to be reflected in the actual show in itself.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because again, I think this is just episode 1, so you're not obviously not gonna put all the eggs in one basket. But they allude to even the alien that Hal interrogates. It's just like, yeah, you're all supposed to be the protectors. So are y'all really the protectors? Like it goes into question, like, yeah, everybody, even the general audience that lives on Earth sees them as cops. Like when Hal, to like rewind it back a little bit, when he was in the court, and he was like, why are you here? You trespass. This is not your jurisdiction. He's like, well, this is my jurisdiction. Like, I'm a Green Lantern. She was like, well, your jurisdiction's in space, not here in Nebraska. And it's just like, I enjoyed that because like it feels very little like cop to cop, where it's just like, well, I did this because I'm a cop. It's like, well, are you the cop that actually is supposed to be over here in this jurisdiction? So there's a lot of interactions there, and they're really playing a lot with that concept. So I really hope they lean into it more as the show goes on, especially since we're already getting this sort of detective case, which I don't want to jump too forward, but like, and I think somebody put in the chat, it was just like the episode ends with us finding Hal being killed. So it's just like, my question is, how's the story going to be told, right? Because I think you've already told me too, Charlie, that like, I think James Gunn said there's going to be other DC characters that pop up in the story. So how is this going to work? Like, is it going to be like, okay, we're we need to solve what happened in 2026 because obviously Hal's dead. But then we still have to solve that training S monologue that's going on in 2016. And I'm not gonna count '06. I guess that was just a flashback for John. But like, there's two stories that we're following simultaneously that John in 2026 already knows the answer to because it's 10 years from now. But we as an audience don't know. So we're in this predicament of like, okay, we're trying to solve two faceted things at once. So it's got me locked in. Come to say, well, damn, what happened? Who got? And now that you answered that question to me earlier, that guy has Hal's rings. Like, well, how did he get it? Did guy actually kill him, or was it one of those where guy just kind of like found the ring at a pawn shop and he was like, yeah, man, let me go ahead and grab this real quick and I'm all in. Like, there's just they left it just enough hanging. I'm just like, okay, I'm excited to see where we lean into next with these things. But yeah.
I have a theory, and my theory is essentially one of Hal being somewhat of a fraud. I feel like we're gonna find out because again, we're seeing like in the trailers we saw, it seemed as though Hal and Sinestro were real buddy, and Sinestro, for people that aren't aware, is essentially like, at least in the comic scene, is like the greatest Green Lantern of all time for a while. Like he is like the pinnacle of a Green Lantern. He's like the perfect cop, but he is very much so kind of on a similar timing as John is now, where he is very much so like, I play things loose and by my own rules, but he's very much so clean cut and polished. He's not as sloppy as Hal is. And the version of how we're seeing is like the same mentality, but he's a lot more polished and clean and like perfected things, but he just operates on his own fucking accord. And It seems as though, and again, in the comics, from what I remember, depending on the version, depending on the run, Sinestro is usually responsible for the death of Abensor. Like he kills him. For what reasoning, depending on the comic, it just depends. I feel as though we're going to find a version of Hal in which he is aware that Abensor was murdered, or he like took part in the murder himself and he like took the ring. Which is why we're going to see, and I feel like that's why when we're talking about a lot of the things that it seems like Hal isn't aware of to an extent, is something that's just lacking from him going through like literal training of being a Green Lantern. Again, some of it we don't know because we know that he's done some of the stuff from like the sentient backing up or whatever it may be. But I feel as though he's gonna have like taken the ring or conspired with Sinestro to an extent, and Sinestro taught him some basic stuff, but he kind of got a similar treatment as John is getting now, where like he doesn't really get the nitty gritty details on stuff. Because something simple as like him charging his ring with his battery is something where I'm just like, my nigga, you just forgot to charge your ring conveniently when you're flying off to Nebraska and shit, which again, you can say is like him being sloppy, but I feel like there's going to be a deeper reasoning as to why. I think like maybe he gets the ring and he feels like he's official, but then he finds out in '06 that the ring that he acquired was acquired through dirty means. So now he feels guilty, which is why he's not wearing the costume anymore, because he doesn't see himself as like being worthy anymore. Why he's like, right. Again, I can see all that stuff being reasonings why. Because it seems as though he knows enough about space and enough about the lantern stuff that like somebody told him, but it definitely feels as though there's something that he's not telling John, and something that he has in his closet in regards to his skeleton going on. And I think that may be it, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good theory too, because I mean the alien, again, go back to the alien interrogation scene, which we'll keep on talking about it because we still gotta talk about the fucking Obama scene.
Oh, we'll get into that. I want to save time to get into that specifically.
But I mean, the alien himself tells him, it's like, man, Al, you just like, it's like a man ready to die. And when that quote also resonated with me on the simple fact of, if that is true, your theory is true about that guilt. I can tell usually when somebody feels that guilty, so shameful, or feeling that bad, you're willing to do anything to either redeem yourself, like solve that part of the mystery that you don't understand. So to see his urgency. I mean, the fact that like, again, the beginning of the episode, that taco spot seems like a go-to for him. Like, he just got hungover from the previous mission he did. Seems like that's his Waffle House. Like, hey man, just got drunk. This is the spot we're going to. The fact that he dropped that shit and like went straight to Nebraska means like this is weighing heavy on him. So when you're in that mindset, you're willing to do anything, and sometimes like throw your own life on the line just to get a little bit of closure, explanation, whatever the case may be. So your theory of like him hiding something, he's 100% hiding. I guess the question is to what extent and what are the repercussions of that. I think we're going to find as we dive into it more.
It's going to be really fucking interesting. I think the next thing to speak on, is, and we'll go through this part really quickly so we can get to the meat and potatoes with the Obama stuff, right? Is the Macons, because initially when the guy was in the courtroom, I thought he said Hammond initially. I thought he was saying that his dad was Hector Hammond. I don't know how I heard Hammond when that nigga's name was Macon. I don't know, but so I thought it was a whole different villain. So I'm curious as to who Macon's benefactor is. I think that's a big thing that we're discussing, is that he has a benefactor that is backing all the shit going on there, and not only backing all the shit going on there, but it seems as though he follows a similar premise. And again, I have a theory on who this backer is, but it's a similar idea that people on Earth, now being aware that there's life on other planets and that Green Lanterns patrol stuff, they are looking at it out of fear. And I find it funny because they're looking at things with the idea of American history as a conceptual thing, right? This conservative, and it was funny enough that a conservative white man is the one saying this. As a conservative white man, you are aware that people historically colonize. And when people colonize an area, it's not done kindly. When you're looking at the Spaniards to the Aztecs, you're looking at the English to Africa and all this that went on with the slave trade, the English and Columbus and all of them to the natives. Whenever somebody gets colonized, it's always death, murder, rape, and pillage that follows that on Earth. So these people that are conservative, that know that stuff, that are leaning on conservative values, are like, shit, hell, we get colonized by space people, we don't stand a fucking chance. So you see them trying to like formulate some kind of like coalition that is military trained. They have land. They're preparing to fight back or take an advance or take an aggressive tactic in regards to protecting themselves from alien threats. My theory is that this is a Lex Luthor backed derivative. Like, he's at the money. I'm like, okay, who's somebody that's rich that we know up until this point, doesn't really fuck with aliens like that, and would also put money behind getting a Green Lantern on board? When you're looking at that, it's either him, or I could see this being an early pretense for oh my god, I'm blanking on Buddy's name that funded the Justice Gang. Oh my god, y'all help me in the chat. Was it not Justin Hammer? That's Marvel. Fuck, what was his dude's name? I can't remember the name. I can't remember the
James Gunn's brother that he's playing. I'm trying to remember the name of that guy.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Is killing me. But that he's a rich Maxwell Lord. Thank you so much, Maxwell Lord. He's a bigger villain as well. I could see him maybe being the one to back that, and that leads into why the Justice Gang goes away from them, because they see him being corrupt. So I could see that possibly being the thing as well. But when I'm looking at, okay, who are billionaires that I know are anti-alien and have money to put stuff behind shit like that, it's either Maxwell Lord or Lex Luthor are my two guesses. Especially being that this is like 2016, so like 10 years before. Well, it may not be Lex, so this is 10 years before, well, not 10 full years, but this is a good bit before Superman makes his appearance. And Lex has made it pretty apparent that Superman was like the big cause for him having that mind state. So maybe Maxwell Lord, he tries with this and is like, you know what? I need to assemble my own like group of metahumans to fight back against alien threats. So he gets people on. And then Hector Hammond again. Hector Hammond is a possibility. I could have sworn I heard somebody say Hammond in the show, but I got to go back and rewatch that court scene again. Maybe I'm tripping. But we shall see. We shall see as far as that goes. But that's another mystery to be unraveled. And funny enough, having Zoe making the grandma being involved in that, I'm like, hey, if this end up being Kat Matui, that'd be interesting to see if she's like a Lantern undercover or not. And somebody else brought it up, maybe Rick Flag Sr. is partnered with Maxwell Lord. I can see that happening. Or hell, funny enough, now that you brought up Rick Flag Sr., I can see that being a very much so I almost call it Viola Davis, Amanda Waller backing that, being like a government funded thing. Which, funny enough, I'm pretty sure even Hal makes it a point to be like, yeah, this seems like a government operation. Like your benefactors money is partnered with the government. So I can easily see this being an Amanda Waller thing too, where Amanda Waller starting to build this stuff up slowly but surely, leading into things like the Suicide Squad. So there's like, again, right now the three big candidates for me being the backer of this shit is going to be Amanda Waller, Lex Luthor, or Maxwell Lord in my mind. So I'm excited to see who that ends up being. But moving forward though, into the thing I want to get into the most, and I think it was like this was like, for me, this was the pinnacle of this show and why the show was so fucking dope to me. It was a scene in which you see Hal Jordan cross-examining, I can't speak today. He's interrogating a fucking alien that at this point in time is only presented as a human being and is trying to pass for a human being. And I find it so interesting because this doubles as a metaphorical commentary from the standpoint. It's how someone who is not of Earth would look at human beings and people on Earth. It is very much so in a similar factor of like how you would like, let's say I'm a hardcore like comic book fan, and I'm talking to somebody who's only seen movies or only like seen comic book stuff through videos, and I'm asking them questions. Like if I was like hard grilling you on like comic book information about like the Green Lanterns or whatever it may be, and your only interaction to the comic book world is watching other content creators' videos explaining things in a summary or Google searches or AI summaries, I would look at this as a similar thing where this alien is only knowing about Earth through like trivia, where he knows about what's happening with certain popular people, but he does not know the details of like the culture and the subcultures within the Earth. Because we're seeing how essentially run down trivia with this alien. He's like, oh, how do you feel about Huskers football, like Nebraska teams football, or like sports, whatever it may be. He's giving out all this stuff like what year they win championships, whatever it may be. Then the one that fucking had every black person laughing, he asked this nigga about Obama. Because keep in mind, they're in rural Nebraska, and this guy's got a full like conservative, like wearing the cowboy hat, the boots, all this shit. And he's already established that this guy is very much so conservative in how like he presents at bare minimum. And this guy is like, oh yeah, Obama's the president. He's like, that's it? That's all you got? He's like, yeah, nigga, he's the president. I don't know what you want me to say. He said, nigga, you are a conservative that's a fan of Nebraska football, and you don't have any other thoughts on Barack Hussein Obama. I was like, oh, damn, that nigga is an alien, ain't he? When he pointed that shit out, I was like, oh, that's that nigga alien, bro.
I was rolling. Oh, yeah, like somebody said in the comments, yeah, there were some issues with his birth certificate. I was like, that's it, nigga?
Yeah, he's like, I heard this was the thing. He's like, you heard? You're not speaking in definitives. Again, he's speaking from a logical view of somebody who is like looking at something like, I don't know much about this, but these are like the things that are out there about it, versus someone who's a part of the culture saying, yeah, I know this to be true, even though you don't, even though the factual evidence says this isn't the whole thing. And I find that so fucking funny that once they went through the Obama questions, the alien was like, all right, nigga, you got me. Look, the shit y'all be doing here is stupid. Y'all niggas are worried about all these other bullshit issues when your fucking ozone layer is fucking frying. You're worried about skin color and shit. Like, this shit is stupid. It's like, you guys are fucking stupid. I hate this shit.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that was, it was such good writing. Because I think even the transition from, because again, he knows football. And for fans that know their football, like, I like to think I don't watch football as much as I used to, but like, man, I used to really know all that football stuff. But if you're from Nebraska, I don't know if y'all niggas know, there ain't nothing to do in Nebraska but watch football. I think Nebraska has sold out their football games at home for like 80 years. That's the only fucking thing you can do there. So it makes sense that he knows he's on his P's and Q's with that. But when Hal shifts and just like, hey, so where did Harry Potter go to school? Like, it just, he does it so efficiently that he's just like, what are you talking about?
He missed me with that initially, and then I was like, okay, nigga, Harry Potter and everybody knows. Then it started to click, right? He's like, oh, major franchise, everybody across the world was talking about Harry Potter. He's like, you know where that nigga went to school at? I'm like, damn, is Harry Potter like, because you know, in nerd culture, there are things that are popular within nerd culture, but then there are things that have transcended those boundaries into like pop culture, like the origins of Superman, the origins of Batman, Spider-Man, like these popular entities that even if your mama ain't never read a comic book or has never watched any of this shit, at bare minimum she kind of knows a general vague overview on what Superman is, the concept. So the fact that like Harry Potter was one of those in this world, he was like, nigga, you don't know shit about. And also I find it funny that they're getting a lot of like the jokes off about HBO properties. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, HBO doesn't own this shit, so they can talk about shit like Harry Potter. I find it really fucking funny.
Yep. That was my instant thought. I was like, why would you say Harry Potter? I was like, is this like a little plug-in? Because you know that show, whatever's out. Mm-hmm. But then I thought about it. I was like, oh man, no, I think he's testing it. But then when he said the Barack thing, I was just like, oh, this is so like. It was just so good because you can tell, you can see on Hal's face, I got your ass, nigga.
Yeah, Obama said on the coffin. He was like, yeah, you can tell you, all the other shit could make logical sense. He's like, Obama? Ain't no fucking way. I think all the other shit was believable that you made out of watch Harry Potter. It was believable that you know a bunch about football. But he's like, nigga, you're a conservative nigga and you don't have a singular opinion on Obama? Nah, nigga. Nah.
See,
you trying to be a fence sitter? You're not from here. You're not of this earth. In 2016... This is keep in mind. This is Trump getting in office in 2016.
That's what I'm saying. This is 2016. Like this is Obama. Just like either he Yeah, because Obama didn't actually leave office till 2017, that January. So it's like Obama's still president. Either the election just happened or the niggas like, you tell me you got no opinion on this nigga. Yeah, yeah, gay.
The nigga said, yeah, I.
Which I will say, because Hal's been an asshole this whole episode. But shout out to Hal, even he was just like, hey man, like, you know, like, because I don't know, like he played it pretty close to his chest. Like, I mean, obviously politics ain't woven in throughout this whole thing, but even he was like, hey, bro, like, I don't know where they were in the beginning, like when before they flew to Nebraska, but like just the simple fact that, hey man, I'm in the middle of this fuck ass town. I know how y'all niggas feel about this shit. Like, you gotta tell me what it is, because the only way they could have made that even slightly better, maybe even possible, if it's like, so how do you feel about Trump? But I knew they won't do anything to provoke that nigga in real life. So it's just like they probably have to stick to Obama.
My boy,
But it was
DeAndre
gold.
Mosey said the shit from Boys in the Hood. He said, you know, you don't fucked up, right? You know, you fucked
Right.
up, right? That's what I fucking heard in my head too. All in all, this is going to be. I think this is going to make for an amazing show. And when I'm looking again for people that are really fucking hard on James Gunn for whatever reason, and I'm looking at the grand scheme of everything that he's put out thus far. Superman, I thought was great. Creature Commandos was an amazing fucking show to me, in my opinion. Supergirl, I thought was okay movie. However you feel about that, it is what it is. I think it just wasn't an objectively bad movie. I thought it was mid. We got, again, he's not directly responsible for the Penguin series, but again, I think that happened under his eye, or at least over, like, it was already made, I think. So the Penguin was really fucking solid. Most of the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, we've gotten a bunch of great shows and one great movie from James Gunn thus far. I think Lantern's going to be another addition to something that's going to be really dope. And I'm really enjoying how they're going with these particular characters in a Supergirl, in a John Stewart Green Lantern that can help to flesh out this universe, right? Because for the most part, we're gonna get a lot of what Earth is gonna have to look like in regards to Peacemaker, in regards to not the Batman, but in regards to a Batman show. Once we get that, we're getting a lot of series that are showcasing what like Gotham is like in this world and what the rest of the like city is like. But in things like Green Lantern and things like Supergirl, we're getting a look at the greater galaxy and how things are showcased. And I'm really fucking excited because we really weren't getting a lot of that for the most part. I think we're not, because we haven't really heard about Thanagarians up to this point, because this version of Hot Girl we have, and that's another thing to talk about for people that are watching this and expecting John to get with Hot Girl and that be like the same thing you saw with Shiera in the Justice League show. This is not that Hot Girl. This is not the same Hot Girl. This is not Shiera Hall. This is, I can't remember her name in the comic books, but this is a version where she got an amulet and she took on the powers. This isn't the alien. This is someone who has like mystical abilities, essentially, as Hot Girl. With I believe it was a necklace, I think, that gave her the abilities. I can't fucking remember. That was already coming a long time ago. Kendra Saunders, thank you. It was a long ass fucking time ago, but she's not the alien, so we're not seeing that. For the most part, the only aliens we've seen are Superman, Supergirl, the aliens from Supergirl. That's about it. I can't think of any other aliens on Earth canonically we've seen. I mean, outside of the stuff from Peacemaker, the ones from Peacemaker, obviously. But for the most part, we're getting into a lot of alien shit now with Lanterns and Supergirl. So I'm curious. But I will say, to give y'all some, for the people that do want the Hot Girl Green Lantern relationship, like kind of like I do remember seeing an interview with the actress that plays Supergirl, Isabella Marcid. She talked about how she wants that, she would love that to happen too. Her being a person that watched the show, even if it's not the same one-to-one thing, she would like that relationship to be a thing. So I'm curious to see how this is gonna look. Also, one thing that we're not talking about, Black don't crack, but this version of John is old as shit. Cause keep in mind, this nigga's maybe like 7, 8 in 1996. 10 years goes by, so he's maybe in his late 20s. And like another 10 years go by. This nigga's damn near 30 in 2026. So like a few years after the events of the first Superman movie, he's like 40 canonically in this universe. So I'm like, damn,
which is crazy.
Made this version of John old as shit.
And Aaron Pierre, like in real life, he's 32.
Is he only 32? Okay, yeah, he's relatively younger. Yeah. So I figured they would go with like a 30-year-old John Stewart, but they make this nigga like 40.
That's why he grew out the shit. You know what I mean? To make it look.
I express that. If you gotta go see, that's how you know he's older. The facial hair makes
right. Exactly. I will say, I know there was other topics who still want to hop on. I will say there is this one thing I just read that's pissing me off, and there's people one of their criticisms of this episode is that they're saying the DCU doesn't have a tonal consistency. That they hate how Superman is like this, but then Lanterns is like this, and oh man, Clayface is going to be body horror. How does that make any sense? And like James Gunn's already come out and said like that's the beauty of this is that like everybody has their own tone in the same universe. I'm just like, I don't understand what y'all niggas want. Because y'all biggest complaint on the MCU was what? It was the same malleable formula when it comes to how they produce their films and their TV shows. So now with James Gunn, who mind you was part of that formula and probably knows it better than anybody, is purposely trying to make sure everything has its own feel and twist. Now y'all complaining about it. So I don't know what y'all want. I really don't. I'm not talking about us as the audience. Seems like the audience enjoy. I'm talking about critics. I'm just like, I don't know what y'all really are looking for here. Your face says it all.
Pop it out! Nigga, pop it out!
Y'all are killing me with the guzzling of the. I love the MCU like the next person, but we're gonna stop having this revisionist history that the MCU, when it first kicked off, was this perfect thing that was tonally consistent, that was all the same. Gang, in the early, like that first phase of the MCU, there was maybe like a quarter of those movies that were really fucking amazing, and the rest were mid to trash. If we're keeping it a buck. Iron Man 1, again, amazing. Iron Man 2, some mid. 3, some cheeks. Thor 1, okay. Thor 2, Dark World, some fucking cheeks. She was ass. Most, like, Captain America 1, I didn't have the first Avenger, I didn't have too much of an issue with it, but it was pretty mid. And then I damn near don't even consider the other Captain America movies, them shits were just like fucking Avengers events at that point. They were fucking Avengers movies with fucking Cap on the fucking title. But again, solid. The MCU, like, I think niggas look at Avengers 1 as being like the end of phase 1, and they look at that as being the thing that encompasses the entire fucking arc. The MCU had a very fucking rocky start. And they already got really fucking lucky in that first movie in regards to they got fucking saved. And again, I'll say this now because maybe just give it another plug for another video I put up. One thing that I made a video around that I think people don't really know about, that people kind of run with, is the idea that Blade saved the Marvel Universe. Whole video breaking down why that is not fucking factual and why Stan Lee usually lies about that, other people lie about that, because the fucking evidence, the factual evidence is on paper. When they went into Iron Man 1, Marvel had taken out, I think, a $200 million loan, like a crazy loan from a bank, to fund their movie studio, because they were finally getting to making their own movies. If they had any movie that did not make a certain amount of money, I can't remember what that number was. I gotta go back to watch that video to find the exact number of what it was. Then Marvel would just be acquired. They were done for. They were just gonna get ate up, and they would be acquired by this bank. It took Iron Man 1 not breaking box office records, but just being fucking amazing for them to get out of that. After Iron Man 1, they got lucky as fuck and they were able to continue on. And then right after the fact, not too long after, Disney came a knocking and Disney bought them out and then paid off the rest of that debt. But Marvel almost was DOA. If Iron Man 1 did not do what it did, all the MCU would have been cooked. That should have been over with. They were going to, because they had sold off all their major characters up until that point, because they were doing shit like making video games, opening up restaurants, doing new card games, just wasting money left and right, just taking L after L after L. And this is not too long after the fucking the comic apocalypse during the 90s, where people were fucking buying comics thinking they were gonna have infinite collector value. Marvel and DC were like inflating the value by printing over and over and over again, and people just stopped buying comics because they were buying them for collector value. So they were still recovering. They were recovering from a bunch of different shit. Comics by the 2000s and like the early 2000s in the late 2000s were getting better in regards to people buying them, but them niggas were already hella bankrupt at that point. So when you guys had to tell me about how the DCU was starting off and how you wanted to be like the MCU or whatever, nigga, that shit was not planned out. That shit was lucky, and it was not as good as you remember it being. Up until this point, we have gotten pretty solid projects from James Gunn. I think the tonal difference is also great, because I think there's also an understanding that people need to have, is that every person is not to be a fan of every single Marvel or DCU project. There are people who are going to be fans of the tone of like a Ms. Marvel that aren't going to like the tone of a WandaVision. Like, very rarely do you meet somebody that is going to love every and all DC projects, and they're going to tend to watch the things that are similar to the things that they enjoy. If you like the quippy, lighthearted, whimsical, jokey manner of like a Avengers film, you're going to watch all those things like that. You're going to watch Guardians. You're going to watch all those things that reflect that. And I think that's part of why this phase is amazing and why James Gunn is taking the mistakes that Marvel did going into this is that he understands, all right, if everybody's not going to like everything, I'm going to make sure that we have a little bit of everything for people to gravitate towards and that everybody's represented.
Yep.
And I don't know. I'm in another DC rant because, again, this is a conversation I feel like we have every other fucking week because motherfuckers annoy the fuck out of me with it. But y'all gotta stop. Y'all gotta stop it. Y'all gotta stop it. It says Snyder grounded Superman. You think Superman was grounded?
Man of Steel. They didn't even call him
No.
Superman.
No, he said Snyder. I know. He said Snyder. I saw. Gang. Snyder quite literally had people worshiping Superman as a fucking Jesus Christ deity. He got a whole multiple shots of this nigga on a cross. Like, that was not grounded. You saw Superman, you saw Batman and maybe thought that was grounded because it was the Dark Knight Returns version, but that version of Superman was not grounded at all. His fucking first movie, he is like destroying an entire city immediately. On a blink of a fucking, like, that is not a grounded Superman. Granted, I don't know what you would consider a grounded. I don't know. We'll have that conversation for a different day. But no, Snyder made the Snyder fell into the trap that was set after the Christopher Nolan shit. I think Nolan, although he did amazing Batman movies, the thing he did that ruined a lot of shit going forward is that everybody felt like they had to have this dark, gritty, hyper realistic superhero movie that would be like paramilitary. Like, everybody tried to do that shit. And now we're in a universe, for the most part, at least for Gunn started with Superman, to where things feel like comic books. They have the energy of what made comics fun to people to begin with.
Yep.
And even if you're not a fan of the tone of that, that's why you have shows like Lantern where you have a grounded, darker series that you can enjoy. You have your grounded, you have the Penguin, you have this, you have a Creature Commandos, you have your grounded projects that you can be a fan of that are dark and gritty. And then you're gonna have a Superman movie. You're gonna have, which funny enough, Blue Beetle is still canon. So how do you feel about that movie? I thought that movie was another okay movie. I don't really put that on, that's not on Gunn because that movie came out and was made before Gunn was brought into the equation. But you know what I mean? You're gonna have your movies like that. But it's a whole different thing, bro. Snyder's shit was not grounded. Snyder's shit was, in my opinion, quite the exact opposite of it being grounded. Personally, it's not as like whimsical as Gunn Superman, but that shit was not grounded in my opinion. That's just me though.
Damn, somebody said Man of Steel was Snyder's and Rand Power Fantasy. Hey, that's a bar. Oh man, put that on, pin that shit. Man. Oh shit. Action Pat, you got me with that one.
And light spaceman, again, thank you for commenting. But I'm not mad at you. I'm not coming at you. If I'm speaking a little bit more like in more animated, I'm not cussing out or anything like that. But again, he says here, I'll bring it up so everybody can see. He says, to me, that is grounded. Superman is feared. He lets cities get destroyed. People are weird about his godhood. I can see that in regards to that being grounded from you, because again, this is a focus on people being scared of Superman. I just think it's a bastardized version of what the character is, from the original comics version to even the version you saw from the Christopher Reeves versions. Like, Superman in himself is supposed to be very similar like Captain America, where he's like this pinnacle of what people strive to be, right? He is someone who is objectively a good individual. And a lot of his struggle and strife comes from his inability to emote to people, because he has this godlike ability, but he is also a human being because he was raised as a human being. So you have this like internal dichotomy of who he is. He has the god that is Superman, but he is Clark Kent. He's raised as Clark Kent. And that's part of what I liked about the Superman movie, is that he is seeing himself as Clark Kent that has these enhanced powers, but you find out that he was sent there to fucking be a tyrant of sorts and be a god, and he doesn't want to be that. He's fighting with that, and you're having some people afraid of that potential. So I think you're hitting. I think you can hit that stuff still, but it not be this dark, gritty thing to where he's responsible for the like. Superman is not. He would sacrifice himself before he let the city get destroyed. Now again, you can say that again, that he didn't really have a choice in certain situations, but the way that nigga was fighting Zod, that nigga was like, bruh, yeah, bruh, I don't know. And I think, again, if you're looking for a perfect example of that, that's not a movie, My Adventures of Superman is like the perfect version of Superman, in my opinion. Like, if you want a quintessential version of what Superman looks like, go watch My Adventures of Superman.
Shout out to Jack Quill, yeah, man.
That
Did a good
that
job
that
with
shows again. The season just ended. The second season just ended, and it was fucking beautiful. I love that fucking show, and I think that is my favorite version of Superman thus far. Is my Adventures of Superman, personally. My nigga Jew in the comments going fucking crazy. Shout out my boy Jew. Shout out my boy Jew. But let's finish up our thoughts on this episode. And again, for people that are new here, we will be probably covering this show week to week. This will be like, we usually do like 3 topics on this show, and one of these topics will always be an episode of Green Lanterns going or Lanterns going forward. That'll be our week to week thing. I wanted to. Initially, I thought about covering House of the Dragon, but I was like, yeah, there's just too much going on with that show for me to cover that shit. There's a lot going on with that. And maybe I'll do a video on that at some point. But yeah, I just wanted to enjoy that one and not have to worry about doing content around that. But going into the next bit of news we have, sticking to the nerd stuff, but also in regards to animation, there has been a lot of interesting things going on at Pixar, if you're not aware.
Why are there so many layoffs at Pixar, even though Toy Story 5 is about to make $1 billion in global box office? Well, to understand this, you have to understand the big issue at Pixar. The issue is that Pixar takes about 4 to 7 years to make a $200 million movie. And if you look at Elio and Hoppers and Toy Story 5, they've only had 1 success out of 3. Now, under the new leadership of Josh D'Amaro, I'm not surprised that they had to make some pretty drastic costs, as Pixar as a company, its structural approach to making films, seems like an extremely big risk. If you were to ask me, I think Pixar and feature films in general, especially original animated IP, should take a lot smaller bets with smaller budgets, take bigger risks in order to find some of those new, fresh ideas that will be the big IP that you'll capitalize in years to come. Now, I say this with a really conflicted heart because I love Pixar, I love their movies, and I understand that it takes their process, the time to revise, redo, reanimate, and re-edit a film to make it the pure Pixar experience that we've all come to know and love. But the marketplace just might not have the luxury to do that anymore. So, what is the process for what will make a new feature film? I don't know, but it's not the way Pixar is doing it.
Before we get into that real quick, just answer my boy Jew. Jew, I'm gonna get you on. I'm gonna get you on some streams if you were down. Next week, I can't because I already got a guest that I already confirmed coming on, but I can get you on the week after that for episode 3 if you're down for that. We can chop it up.
Who's the guest?
My boy Gifted.
Oh snap! Okay.
Yeah, Gifted creator. I found Gifted doing he's doing a lot of basketball content because he's a big Warrior fan, content creator. But I've been I follow him on the Nazi app, and we'll talk about. Well, he does a lot of gaming and nerd content stuff as well. So I gotta narrow down the topics exactly with him. I know we'll probably talk about lanterns, if not early in the show, later in the show. But I'll chop it up with him. I'm excited to get him on.
Yeah,
But,
we can talk a little bit about how sorry his team's gonna be this year.
That nigga may have a whole existential crisis. But with this saddens me on a few different levels, as well as it has me skeptical for the future, because it's been very much so proven that a lot of these companies tend to take the wrong lessons away from failed or perceived failed projects. I feel like Disney is going to take a look at what's going on with Pixar and them having things that aren't making like billions of dollars, and they're going to take the wrong lesson away from that. I think they're going to take the wrong lesson away from that. And I believe as though part of me thinks, I ain't gonna lie to you, part of me thinks the layoffs have nothing to do with the movies not being as successful. Because funny enough, when I'm looking at the last couple of Pixar movies, I believe they're relatively successful. Let me look this up. Hold on.
Yeah, I was looking at it right now. So they already mentioned in that video, Toy Story 5 has 1.1 billion off a $250 million budget. But Hoppers, which if people don't remember, Hoppers is the one where that meme of the lizard being like lizard. That budget was only 150 million and got almost $400 million in box office. To me, you still double your budget. Like you still made plenty of money from that. And at least in my mind, it's not the $1 billion success, but Hoppers is an original IP. Like to my understanding, like there's no other Hoppers movie that Pixar has made before. You have to expect reasonably when Toy Story 5 came out, it's Toy Story. People will just go just because they know that name, but you have to actually understand that when you're making something new, you shouldn't just automatically assume it's going to be $1 billion. Like by that premise, and Obsession didn't do well. It didn't make $1 billion. But like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it still did. Everybody always says, you know, less than $1 million, and it made whatever it did. But like, I think Pixar's and Disney's going through this. But funny enough, not to change the subject, but I really think I'm really interested in how Take-Two evaluates if GTA 6 is successful, because their mindset is like, this is supposed to be the biggest thing they've ever done. They put so much time, resources, money into this. Like, let's just say opening weekend, I don't even know what's tangible. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 made $1 billion pretty quickly. And in my mind, I'm just like, if they don't make that by a weekend, are they going to consider that a failure?
I'm
Like,
not worried about that with them because they understand that most of their money is going to come from the online stuff, and
Yeah, that's
they're not starting with the online. They know where their money's going to come from with that. They're not worried about they're not worried about that in my mind.
That's true.
Plus,
that's
a lot of their shit's already been pre-ordered anyway, so they already got their money. They already made their bread.
Yeah, that's fair.
But funny again, I was looking through some of the movies. The only movie that I can look at, like the last couple of movies that Pixar's put out that was like objectively a flop, was probably Elio, and that's because they didn't make their production budget. I think they made like 150 mil worldwide, and was 150 mil for the production for the budget for it. But
Yeah.
Elemental before that, Elemental on a budget of 200 million made like almost 500 million worldwide.
Right.
Like Toy Story's about to make $1 billion. You said Hopper was a fucking positive. Inside
Yeah.
Out too. Like most of their stuff has been pretty successful, I think, and it's also been well received. Like stuff like Soul, Turning Red, Luca. Like these movies have been really well received. So part of me feels like them doing a bunch of layoffs is really just them trying to replace a lot of people with AI. I ain't gonna hold you. I think this is them like. I think they're using that as an excuse to try to just again consolidate. That's the magic word with a lot of these companies. They're consolidating things
Well-
down to AI, especially when you're talking about animation.
The problem is, and I don't think, and you said it yourself, I don't think they're actually learning from their lessons. I don't know if you saw at D23, but everybody was talking about X-Men, obviously. But the one thing I did see they getting out, they're making an Incredibles 3. But the premise of the Incredibles 3 is again Bob feeling like he's washed. We've already had that premise in the first two movies. So I'm just like, you're not even like, okay. So what you've gathered here is like, okay, we're putting all this money into movies and not getting no impact from it. What can we do? We see the obsessions of the world being able to do low budget, but people are really coming out to see it. Like, what's the difference? Oh, Spider-Man's blowing on. What's the difference? People just want to see good shit. And I'm not even saying these things are bad, but like, it just feels like they simultaneously want to continue having the flow of money that they expect, but then also they still want to put pressure on the creators to almost pull something out of their ass and come up with this like new original thing. So it's like you can't have it both ways. Like either you give people the time and space and lack of like pressure on them to actually make something new, or you're just going to find the latest IP like Incredibles 3, do it. Hopefully you make $1 billion. If you don't, you're going to cut those people off for the same reason anyway. So it's almost like I don't even know what they were looking for besides just purely just like making sure numbers are looking good quarterly for their stakeholders. I don't know what they want. And it's sad because like, let's look on the run. Let's look at the run that Pixar went on at the very beginning. This was their first 10 movies. Pixar 10 movie ever. I'm gonna read it to you. Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, Wall-E, and Up. That was their first 10 movies.
Nigga, that's a generational fucking run, gang. That is a crazy first.
And the only movie they repeated was Toy Story. All that other shit was brand new shit. You want to get back to what make Pixar great? Let these niggas cook. Let these niggas cook,
For
man.
the Incredibles stories, I've seen some of the annoyance with the Incredibles 3 announcement for it. Y'all, I just asked, wait to see a trailer. Because I understand the idea of like wanting to see these kids like be adult superheroes and like have that story be told. But we don't know what's gonna happen with this. We don't know if we're gonna get a time jump midway through it. We don't know what the idea of it is. And also, I'm cool with them. As long as the story is innovative, I'm not mad at them for not doing the stereotypical thing of just like aging them up right away and telling them it's like what I don't want is a stereotypical thing of like, oh, we told two movies as them as kids and then now they're gonna be adults dealing with adult shit. And I'm like, I feel like we've seen that over and over again in comics and in actual shows. We've seen that before. Now, what I will say is, to play devil's advocate, they're going around this idea around heroes not all being heroes, essentially, or not everyone needing to be a hero. What I'm scared of is them doing the whole situation of the thing we've seen a million times over, to where you have these young heroes who are meaning well meet some other young heroes who tend to be more aggressive with how they go about things and realize they're not really heroes. Like I've seen that before as well. So if they're going that route, I don't think they're going that route, because the silhouette for the new hero they showcase is like an adult. So it looks like they're gonna have like a really interesting thing going around with this stuff. I'm just not too mad at this at the new route they're going, because I think the Incredibles has always tried to do something innovative with how they operate within their film stuff. Again, they're even then, I can't even say there's a cliche in the first movie. I feel like when the first Incredibles came out, the plot that they went with was probably one of the, I think that was either not the first, but one of the first times we've seen something like that in animation. Like we've probably seen it. We've seen that story told in the comics before, obviously, but that was one of the first times that the masses saw something like that.
No, I thought the first one. I mean, I will argue the first one's some of their best work. Truly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like somebody said it. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was answering my boy Drew. Yeah, this movie, all three of these movies are taking place with like a span of like 3 years within each other, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, I understand. I think it's like the dilemma of like, because we grew up with these movies, like there's like such a huge gap in between, and we feel like the movies should grow up with us at the same pace. But I think we're fine. I think we're fine, bro. And they're growing up to an extent. Like the first movie, Violet was like early in high school, and Dash was in middle school, and Jack was like an infant, damn near. And then we're getting Jack's like what, probably like 2 by the time we see him in the second movie. So they're aging. They're just not aging as fast as a lot of people want, which again, I understand. But as long as the story is amazing and they're like keeping them at this age for a particular reason, I'm not mad at it personally. But I'm all for everything being fresh if they can do it. If you have a fresh take on something, do it. I was looking at some of the chat. I was trying to answer some of the questions.
I mean, there was one, I think maybe Action Pack, somebody else said it. They said like Pixar's downfalls when they started specifically putting their Pixar movies only on Disney Plus, and I would actually agree with that. I don't know if you looked at the box office, but I think Soul, Turning Red, and Luca didn't have theatrical like releases. They were only on Disney Plus. And I actually think that was some of their best work. Soul was a very touching movie. I think Jamie Foxx played the main character, right?
Yes,
that was a very good movie. That movie would have did number.
Beautiful fucking movie, bro.
That movie would have did number, which is funny now because I think there was a joke about the Knicks never winning the championship in there, so like it's kind of funny now. But like that movie was great. Turning Red wasn't everybody's favorite, but Turning Red, I watched it. It was a very good turning up, like coming of age story for a young woman going into her teens. I thought it was a very, very, very good. I thought the animation in there was beautiful. I still remember the scene of like her dad cooking food, and it looked like something straight from like, there's some anime scenes where you're just like, man, I just want to steal the food from the screen. Like they did, like the animators put their heart and soul in those 3 films, no pun intended, and they didn't get the releases they reserved. It felt it's very similar to how Paramount basically did the Avatar folks before it got leaked. It's like, yeah, I know you put all this time and soul and effort in here, but we're just going to put it on our streaming service so people can come watch it. Like, fuck you. These people put so much work in that,
and that's what's annoying me a lot. Again, we saw it with the last Airbender movie, right? Where y'all have abused the convenience of streaming services. Like initially, we enjoyed things like Netflix because we were able to not pay exorbitant amount of money for cable anymore, and the allure that we got the binge shows. Now, I'd argue that the superior way for shows to be fucking looked at is through the week-to-week thing, because I just look at, again, with all these HBO shows, how much conversation and how much longevity they have in just like the cultural zeitgeist going week to week, and it makes this like an event that you get to look forward to every week with your family, where you get to watch, hey nigga, Daredevil Born Again is on, fucking Lanterns is on, House of the Dragons. Like we every week now, I've enjoyed that. When Sunday hits and I lay down in bed, I get to watch these couple. It was like that with me. Right now, it was Superman, My Adventures with Superman, House of the Dragon, and whatever anime I was watching at that point in time. I was waiting to get dubbed. That was my week to week, and I've enjoyed that, honestly. Because I feel like when you go through binging everything, the show just kind of gets forgotten about pretty fucking quickly. Which is why even you're seeing Netflix start to space like what you saw that with fucking Stranger Things, right? Where they fucking spaced out the finale, like, or the halves of the seasons and shit.
Yep.
Which I think that was a bad thing for them. You already set a certain precedent with that show. You need to keep that shit going in my mind. But trying to force this shit into these apps irritates me, because you're not only doing that, but now you're jacking the prices up. Like Netflix is kind of insane with that shit, where they just keep raising the prices and raising the prices and raising the prices to where y'all about to get real sad and sorry when piracy is already a normal thing and it's already getting as easy as it ever has been. When you have things like Plex servers where people can like easily get the downloaded version, like I think that's the thing that people like don't understand in regards to the piracy thing. If you keep that shit strictly on fucking streaming platforms, I feel like you're gonna see the biggest fucking downfall in money made, because it's gonna get so much easier to pirate, and you're only gonna see a rise in pirating platforms. You already have like official things like Plex servers, which inherently I guess is legal because it's a private server that only you have, so you're responsible for building out your server. But even that, the bootleg websites, like, bro, they like one thing I know on a Plex server he has me on, the dude legit got episodes of shows like House of the Dragon or Lanterns the day they were like the same day they came out with like 4K quality.
Yeah.
But he just like they were immediately fucking ready. It's going to be very difficult for them to if they push that going forward. I'm curious on how that's going to work in regards to people not just like how much like piracy. I feel like it's already going to increase with prices going up even more and more and more and more. But now that you're going to limit accessibility to these things, it's about to be real bad. And I'm of the mindset that like if you enjoy something and you want to see it succeed, pay money for it, whether it be a comic, whether it be food, whatever it may be. If you care about that thing succeeding, don't pirate it. But with these multi-billion-dollar corporations and multi-billion-dollar corporations, bro, like fucking Paramount, hey, nigga, I'm doing my best Jack Sparrow impression on anything from Paramount. I'm sorry. Agent Orange and his fucking companies and his people ain't getting shit from me. I'm sorry. That shit is getting. I'm Jack Sparrow with that shit. Personally, that's just me. I don't think piracy is fine as long as you are okay and understanding that you are doing a detriment to the thing that you're watching. It's sad to say, but it's true. That's part of. Funny enough, I still get comments on that comic piracy thing. Like we talked about a while back, where people were still like coming in the comments complaining, like, "Well, I needed this to be put onto this thing," and again, my statement still stands. If you are a comic book fan and you are reading your comic books through piracy, you are being a leech. You're doing a disservice. If you're not pre-ordering your comics that you enjoy week to week in a comic book shop, you are doing a disservice and you are actively harming that comic book run, because they're not getting money from that, and that run will probably get cut short more than likely.
That thing has 13K views, by the way, that episode specifically. We talked about that.
You said what?
Oh, I was saying that when we were talking about the comics and you pirating it, that had 13K views on it. I had a lot of talk on that one.
Yeah, and again, I'm cool with it if like, okay, because as a content creator, right, like I go to those sites to get scans for stuff, but I pre-order a book. Like with this Miles Morales run or whatever, or even the Chachu book I just did a video on, right? I have the Chachu book behind me. I pre-ordered that book. I put money towards that book, but I went and found the scans for it online. You can do that. I'm okay with you. Like, let's say you don't know if you enjoy the book. Cool. I'm going to go read the first issue, pirate it. And then if I like it, I'll go buy. Cool. I guess go do that. But understand, if the book gets canceled before it gets to issue 3, you're part of the problem. Pre-order the shit that you want to support. If everybody pirate shit, that's why comics is going to be in a really fucking destitute place. At least, not comics. Let me not say that. Big 2 comics. Marvel and DC comics are going to be in a really fucking bad space.
Right.
You got to put money in it. Also, for people that are new here, I hope y'all understand with comics, you walking into a comic book shop, picking a book off the shelf and buying it is not you putting money directly towards that comic book. The way it works, and I'll say this really quickly because I want to do this video again. If you want to support a comic book, let's say, because again, we've seen situations where like Riri Williams' Ironheart, right? The book that Stephanie Williams was supposed to write, it got canceled before it even got there. Or other books got canceled before they even got their first issue, because the initial pre-orders were low. Comic book shops look at pre-order sales for their shop, and that dictates how many issues they feel like they need to have to buy, because they're not going to buy more copies of a book than they feel like they can sell, because it's a mom and pop business. So they say, okay, cool, we have 30 pre-orders for this new Miles Morales run. We're going to buy 30 copies directly for those people, but we're also going to buy like an extra like 10 to 15 that we feel like we can sell people walking in and buying them. They then buy that stuff directly from the distributors from Marvel and DC. So that money is already given to them. Your money that you spend walking into the shop and picking it off the shelf does not go towards Marvel and DC understanding that they want the book. Because Marvel and DC looks at those orders that they get from those LCSs that they got from pre-orders, and they say, all right, cool. There weren't that many people that pre-ordered this book, so it must not be a lot of hype for it. We're not going to keep making it. It's cut. And it usually happens with black books. Usually Marvel and DC says, well, black books don't sell. That's not the case. They sell because they sell, or they don't do as well initially on the first drop because you don't promote them, and also you don't educate people on how to pre-order books, because everything what comes works off a pre-order system. You have to pre-order your books at your local LCS for them to account that as popularity for that book. You have to do that. That's how that happens. So people were wondering if your favorite, if you like, for y'all niggas that are going to be really excited for the static or the Vixen stuff going on. I'm personally don't give a fuck about DC shit, to be quite honest. I may peep into the static stuff because I fucking love Cody Ziegler, and I just finished his Miles run that he did. That was 42 issues. That was fucking amazing. So I may peep into what he got going on, but probably not. But if you are interested and you want to make sure those books succeed, you have to pre-order those books. If not, them books are probably gonna get canceled. I promise you they'll get canceled. They may keep them going for the optics of it because they went 3 years without a black lead book, but yeah. But that aside, Pixar's in for some interesting stuff going in the future. I'm curious as to what projects they're gonna make. I feel like they're gonna get into this era now at Pixar where they're just gonna run back reruns. Like, nigga, don't be surprised if we get a Ratatouille 2.
Yeah, I'm shocked they haven't done that yet.
Because we don't need a sequel. A lot of these movies, they don't need a sequel, but they about to start running this shit back. We about to get a Brave 2, we about to get a Ratatouille 2, we about to get a Soul
Monster
2,
Inc.
a Monster.
Yeah,
It's about to be bad. But the last thing to get into, last topic for the day, this isn't something we're going to spend an exorbitant amount of time on. This is just for aspiring content creators and also kind of giving a little bit of peek behind the curtain of like content stuff. YouTube, as of late, has made two major changes. One was that they are doubling the requirements for you to get monetized on YouTube. You are going to have more watch hours and more subscribers to qualify as someone who can apply for the partner program to make money off of your channel, which I took as a W, because it's them. I took that as them trying to get rid of a bunch of the AI slop channels, because you have a lot of people who will just have AI automated channels who just post AI shorts and reels and whatnot, get their shit monetized. And because the way they'll do it, they'll set up like 15 different AI channels, understanding like 2 of them will get monetized, and they just run for bag doing that. Yep. So that was them to combat that. But the new change they recently put out was one that I found very interesting, that seemed as though it was like a step backwards in that goal.
YouTube just made it easier to get views, so here's what their policy says and what I think it actually means. Starting August 24th, a public view on YouTube now counts as soon as someone presses play on your video. Not after the first 10 seconds, not after the first 30 seconds, but the first second of the first frame. This counts across shorts, regular videos, and even live streams. But this is the part that most of y'all are missing. Because YouTube didn't say as soon as the video starts, you're going to start making money off of it. Absolutely not. Their partner program eligibility and basically your ability to earn money off of your video is still the same. It all depends on your engagement, your watch time, all the different metrics that matter in a really good video. So what it basically means is that your view counts are going to grow, but your bank account and your audience doesn't necessarily grow with it. Now, you compare that to a platform like Spotify, where someone has to listen to at least 30 seconds of your song for it to count as a stream. And that means that 1 million views on YouTube versus 1 million streams on Spotify are two completely different levels of attention. So here's my takeaway. Public views, monthly listeners, all these numbers are just becoming vanity metrics. And if anything, I think that this YouTube policy is going to make it even easier for people to artificially inflate and bot their views. So I guarantee you, we're going to start to see some outrageous numbers on some of these YouTube videos because people are just going to bot the hell out of them. It takes a lot more to create an actual fan. Are these people actually sticking around, listening to the rest of your catalog, watching the rest of your videos? That's what's actually going to make a difference in your career as a musician or a content creator or a YouTuber. So let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do you think this is just better?
So first, what I want to do is thank everyone for people that watch these streams, watch my videos on a week-to-week basis. Even if you're somebody who doesn't comment, you're just like a lurker. Thank y'all, because I see it. I see y'all commenting. I see it in the watch hours. Like, I see the support there, and I am so appreciative of y'all and the channel getting to where it has now and where it's continuing to grow to. So appreciate y'all. This, though, I see it as a nothing burger for the most part, because it's not going to do too much to affect already established creators, because it's not going to affect your watch time. Because I think what's going to happen is people are going to be, it seems as more it's like it's going to be like a social experiment where you already have this thing where most people, where if you see a YouTube video that, let's say, only has like 95 views on it, unless it is a topic that you really care about or something you find very interesting, you're more than likely not going to click on that video because you don't see it as being a thing to do. Like, what's going to happen when a video has a lot of views, you get that sense of FOMO, where you're like, oh shit, there's 30,000 people that watch this video on a topic I'm kind of interested in. I want to watch this to see what the hype's about. So I think this is going to serve to try to like get newer creators more of a leg up, and it's going to inflate a lot of channels. But I think it's going to definitely make frauds stand out a lot more, because what's going to happen is you're going to see people with like super high views on the video and like 1 comment, 2 comments, like 1 or 2 likes. Like, it's going to show. Like right now, if I look at my channel, right, and I'm gonna pull some stuff up for y'all. This would be my first time like kind of auditing my own channel, right, and looking at how things operate. When I look at the videos that I put out on my channel, right, and
You gonna share the screen?
I'm gonna share the screen in a second. I was pulling it up.
Oh shit! I was just fucking around.
I mean,
Okay,
it's not,
yeah.
I ain't showing like background analytics and nothing like that, because I don't want niggas pocket watching my shit. Because
I was about to say.
but if I look at a video, right, let's go to the recent video. Well, yeah, if I go to the recent video that I put up for Sam Wilson, if I go to this video that has 7.5 thousand views, right, and it's 82 comments and 600 likes, that's a solid ratio for a video like that.
Yeah.
If you go to somebody's video after the 24th and that video has,
I made a mistake.
damn, if that video
Sorry.
has like 100,000 views and like 5 comments and like 50 likes, either the video was dog shit or they're botting the fuck out of that video, or it's just, again, not even them doing it directly, it's just YouTube doing that because of the new change for it. On a high end, right, if I go to a video that's on a high end, where's my fucking spike video at? Here it is. This is my most viewed video on my channel. It's 116,000 fucking views on this video, right? 116,000 views, 5.2 thousand likes, almost 1,000 comments on this video. Like, the ratios are going to kind of balance out. If you see shit like drastically different, then it's a good sign that shit's like artificial. Now, what I will say is, again, I think it's gonna be a plus for a lot of creators, especially someone like a channel my size, is that I'll have videos that'll get looked at more, but I feel like I already have a history of like putting out good content that people would engage with, but it'll get more eyes to me. It'll make me look more legitimate. Like, even now, like, there's a reason I have for honestly, this is probably a cheat code for a lot of y'all if y'all were like making videos on YouTube. If you want to see your channel to look more legit, make sure you add your popular videos section to the top of your page, so that when somebody like goes to your page to look at your videos, it's going to show the best of what you have to offer. So for me, if somebody goes to my channel, they're going to see that my first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 videos are 116,000, 48,000, 29K, 22K, 22K, 16K. And you're going to see like my best, like my peak, what I have to offer from that. So people will look at my channels being, oh, this guy has good number. Like, outside of your sub count, your best performing videos are going to come out. So you want to make your shit look as appealing as possible, because when it comes to YouTube and this content as a whole, you won't fake it till you make it. So I'm not saying that you can't make it at all as an up and coming creator, but this is really going to separate the boys from the men, and the ladies, the girls from the women in this, because you're going to have a bunch of inflated videos to where high view count on a video is not going to be indicative of how good your channel is. Like your actual video has to be fucking hitting for people to take your shit seriously. So you can get that initial view, but it's gonna look even worse now because you're gonna have views like videos with a high amount of views with very, very, very shitty engagement. And on top of it, I think this is also gonna make thumbnails even more important. Like they were already the most important thing on a YouTube channel is your thumbnails. But now, because with long form content, every second of a view counts, making sure you have a video that can capture somebody's attention is going to be very, very important. So if y'all haven't gotten Canva or Affinity or Photoshop or whatever free software you got to make your thumbnails with, get some practice in. Or get a budget for a thumbnail maker where you can spend like 15 to 20 bucks for a video thumbnail to get made by somebody professional, because you're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. It took me years to learn, like to figure out how to make really attractive thumbnails to somebody, to people. Again, I feel like I have my format figured out now. What I feel like what hit as far as people clicking on it. Most is because I watch a lot of YouTube, so I kind of know what captures my own eye in the same niche. But you gotta make sure that you're locked in on that stuff. But that's it for the most part. Again, YouTube is just making some changes that I feel as though is going to make sure that people that are real deal creators that seek to innovate and seek to actually make content and not just bullshit for the back. Because I do think in the last couple years, streaming and YouTube has been looked at as a lick, because people that are big in the community make it look easy because they're streamers for the most part. People do streams like this on a daily and garner an audience, and they make it look easy, so they feel like they can do it. And for the most part, maybe they can do it. Maybe they are entertaining, but they don't want to go through that initial grind of a video being ass, right? If I go to like my first videos in this channel, I think some of my OG ones may still be like 50 views, but maybe I've unlisted those early ones. Like my first videos in this channel that are public, well, maybe not, because that the first one I put up was Stat. That static video popped too. But I had videos that were like at like 50 views, like 29 views starting out. Maybe this 100 or 200. Now I'm at a place where I can, be blessed to feel like usually like a 1K is probably like a good average for me. Like I'm either going to get 500 to 1,000 views on a video now, but I had to work towards that. I had to get like 2 years in. And also, I think people need to know just having popular celebrities or popular content creators won't fix that either. Like in streams that I've had Ernie on, maybe I've got a couple 100 views on it. That still has not gotten me. Like Ernie has almost like 150, I think, or 120,000 subs right now. Just because I've had him in and I'm in the same niche as him, all his subs didn't just jump to my channel. You have to get this shit out the mud. You have to be consistent. Consistency is the number one thing. When people ask me how to be a content creator, you got to do this shit even on days where you feel like you were a fucking failure. You can't take a bad video, a video not doing well as indicative of you not being a good content creator. Take things from it, learn to grow from it, but there are going to be videos that you think are going to fucking hit that aren't going to do well. Like for me, if I go through let me just go through like my video essays, right? I'm just gonna be real transparent with y'all going forward. I have videos that I put a lot of fucking work into that don't perform as well as I feel like they probably should, or that I would hope they would. Where's the video essay playlist, right? These videos, if I go through them, like the Dragon Ball video essay I didn't do as well as I want. Matter, why am I looking at it like this? I'm fucking stupid because y'all can't even see any of the view counts for this stuff. Like I did a whole video essay on Dragon Ball and its influence in the West. That was when I worked on a while back that I put out. Didn't do as well as I wanted to do. Did a whole video here about X-23 where like I went through and read an entire X-23 run, broke down shit from her in the animated series when she first appeared to her comic book stuff. That didn't do as well as I wanted to do. Pretty much all my video essays didn't perform as much as I would like them. This Ahsoka video, nigga, I put in hella work on this Ahsoka video. 600. Like, I'm blessed that like some of my bigger videos, I still got one right here, like 54 views. This is like me early on, 67. Like some of these, this is the early Captain's Lounge right here, 67 views. Don't cheat. I got a whole channel with like 200,000 subs, 57. Like Nico Minoru video. I put a lot of work into this video, 900. I say all this to say, don't get discouraged, and you have to be consistent, even in videos that you feel like you killed that just didn't perform well. That being said, gang, it ain't for everybody. YouTube and content is not for everybody. It's not. Some people,
and that's okay.
It's okay. I stopped doing this because I've been passionate about doing this since I was a kid, and I've always created content and done something of the sort. So it just did something for me that I enjoyed. And I think me laying the foundation work of having those really hard made videos, like when I do get that one video that pops, like at some point I'm going to have a video that's gonna pop for like a couple 100,000 to like a mil. It's gonna happen at some point. And when it does, I got a whole catalog of videos that are evergreen content people can go back and find. It's gonna be there. Joseph Ashley said, "Do you make a playlist?" Yeah, I have playlists for all my videos for the most part. Like video essays have their own playlist. The pull it, I'll show it again while I'm sitting here because I got the playlist on the main page. We have playlists for these streams, all the Captain's Lounge streams, all the pull list therapy streams. I have a playlist for like comic videos I've done just for comics or comic oriented stuff. I have one for gaming video. This Ultimate Alliance video. Put in hella work for this shit. Half shit for here. Horror, I don't do these videos as much because these shits didn't perform for shit. I loved it because I was just covering horror content. I just do this shit on streams now because those videos don't do well. And that's another thing too. You want to make sure that you're putting your best foot out there. This Isekai video, nigga, this is probably one of my top 5 videos I've made, like top 5 favorite videos I've made. Only 779. But that is what it is. Again, if y'all want to do it, be consistent. But if you don't got the passion for it, don't force it. Don't get into this thinking it's gonna be a lick. It'll take you more than likely years to build your platform up to a point to where you're making money for it. Like, I got to this point in like a year and some change. Like I got monetized with 1,000 subs, but that's because I'd already been doing YouTube shit for like 5 to 7 years beforehand. So I kind of already had the skill set built up for it. What Action Pack says, there's 400K subs and all they do is cover Invincible. Some people got it. Like some people, so there's also a thing on YouTube or just in content as a whole to where you can be a super, super niche content creator and you'll maximize yourself. Like the further you niche down, the better your channel will be and faster it'll be. If you have like let's say you're like Star Wars out there, right? It's a really popular IP that people always look for. If you only do Star Wars videos, you'll probably pop faster because you'll be in every Star Wars creator's algorithm. The downfall that I had early on is that I had a pop, like, if I looked at like my most popular videos, and I'll show it again, it was a comic book character breakdown and Spike, a Power Ranger video, a video game video, and the rest are comic book oriented. But I was doing a little bit of everything. I was being a variety creator, and that works when you have an audience established already. Like, it works, and it's honestly like to your benefit because you have people that are watching your channel for you. They're watching it for your content, not necessarily for what you make. But it's harder to grow you're gonna grow at an extremely slower rate because you're selling yourself as a creator, your personality, not the content in itself. So like, let's say, like right now I'm in a spot to where I've doubled down heavily recently in comic content and comic book adjacent content. When I put a video game video out, it don't do as well. It doesn't do as well. Like I put out the Sam Wilson video, the Chachu video, the comic book stuff. All that shit hit like 1,000 within 24 hours on views. But I put out a video 2 weeks ago where I was talking about comic book stuff in the industry, and I put out a video just a day ago where I was breaking down the God of War live action adaptation and like the issues with it and just gaming adaptations as a whole. That video's at 120 views, and I put that shit out a day ago. After coming off of 4 videos being like 1K pretty quickly. Because people that are probably subbed to me don't give a fuck about that content. Or at bare minimum, it didn't hit their algorithm to the point where we care about it. So you just have to, I'm not going to be able to do whatever the fuck I want to do for a very long time. Like until I hit like 100K or like 50K subs, I don't have that kind of motion yet to be able to do what I want to do as far as like any type of video I can put out. Hell, even kind of like I've talked about this shit with Ernie before, with content creators that even at like in the millions of subs or the 100,000s of subs, views for them are even down all around. Because the way YouTube's been changing their algorithm up, and that's why hype points are so valuable right now in boosting a creator, because the algorithm is so fucking tricky right now, and a lot has changed with it, and people are still trying to figure out how this shit works for even established creators. But yeah, you also have to make sure you're finding a topic that is big but not too big. The thing I would tell you to do right? If you're a content creator, you're starting from scratch. Now, let's say you're like Jordan, you're somebody who's never made content on YouTube and you're trying to figure out how to do this, right? First and foremost, identify your niche. If you want to talk about comics, movies, books, whatever it is, find out what that niche is, and you do content around that niche and that niche only for a while. You then, in doing so, have to figure out what you can provide from an entertainment lens. Are you going to be informative? Are you going to be entertaining? Or are you going to be analytical in how you cover things? Or are you going to do a combination of the three? Because you tend to see creators who are either informative creators where they give like breakdowns or historical things, whatever topic is. People that just react and review to things, or just have commentary over things, or just entertain. Like if you watch CJ the Champ, he's pure entertainment. That's then all that nigga does is entertain you with his videos, and that's his channel. He's at like 2.2 million. That's what he does. Well, the way I approach my channel is that I approached it from a entertainment lens initially. Well, initially I approached my channel from like a purely informative lens, where I was doing just video essays breaking down characters and concepts, and that's what I enjoyed initially, and I still do that to an extent, but that didn't do as well. And I wanted to find a way to where I could get that off, but also have fun, have more fun doing it. Because I was doing 3-page video essays and doing those initially. And those were cool and I enjoyed them, but they weren't popping the way I wanted them to pop. But once I found my format now to where I can give my personal thoughts on how I feel about something, but also give informative commentary on things from my own perspective. Like I'm giving a perspective that is very unique to me. Like that Sam Wilson video where I'm breaking down things from my perspective in regards to why I didn't initially enjoy the character and why the military background kind of annoyed me. That's something that I had a personal experience with. So I can personalize my content to where it's something that, although everybody named Mama's probably done a Sam Wilson breakdown video or have talked about Sam Wilson, I discussed it from a perspective that was unique to me, but I also did it in a way that's unique because I covered 2 different comic book runs in their entirety, not just one thing and make a overall distinction. I did something that's very unique to me. Like the way I did this video, you're not going to see Rob do. You probably won't even see Ernie cover the video in the way that I covered it. Like Ernie's going to have his own perspective on how he covered that video. But yeah. And again, I don't even think I'm like the best content creator out there. I just think I have a unique thing. You don't have to be the best person to ever do it. You just have to be unique. You have to have your own personal take and perspective. But that's my soliloquy though, y'all. I'm just all the game I can give you guys too. And also efficiency, yeah. Having a consistent schedule. Like I talk about it a lot. For this stream, it's every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And in the last year I've been doing this fucking channel, we were 64 episodes in. I maybe missed the show like 2 to 3 times, maybe. Like unless I unequivocally have something that makes me not be able to do the stream, is getting done. The Sunday streams for Pullist Therapy, the only time we ever miss that shit is if something drastic is going with Kaori and I don't feel like doing it myself. And even if you go to like, I think when I first covered Absolute Batman, I was covering the first appearance of Absolute Poison Ivy. She could make it. I did that whole stream myself, Dolo. And you guys still get like 2 videos from me a month. So like I make sure I get the content out there, even if I don't necessarily feel like it. And the only time I don't do it is because I'm either deathly fucking ill, I'm having mental health crisis, or just need a breather from it because I get burnt out. But for the most part, I'm staying consistent. Consistency is key because you never know what video in the algorithm is going to pop off and blow up. You never know. If I had to guess, if I took away all the views on my channel and tried to guess what video I thought would have popped, made me like, I think that would have been the most popular video on my channel, I would have not have told you it was a Spike video. That Spike video hit the algorithm at the right time with the right people, and it popped the fuck off on YouTube and funny enough on TikTok too. It did really well on fucking TikTok when I was doing like clips of that fucking video. But that's pretty much it. So for people that are new here, because there are a good video that are new that I'm glad made it and pulled up, and hopefully y'all are enjoying the stream because y'all are 2 hours into it, 2 hours deep at this point. Light Spaceman. Who else was in here that was new that I saw? Fucking Jew been here before. Jew he be coming back. DI mostly again to new people. Thank y'all so much for popping up. If you are new here, this is the Captain's Lounge. This is a stream that I do every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we get into everything pop culture related, and we try to look at things in pop culture from a sociological framework. I have a sociology degree in undergrad. My friend here has one as well, and we tend to kind of look at things from that kind of a framework, and that's our unique way of looking at things and just our own perspective of stuff as well. I don't only do this stream, but I do a stream on Sundays, which is everything comic book related and comic book adjacent in regards to news. So maybe we'll get into conversations around some like comic book stuff like this show or movies or whatever it may be, but it's usually going to be comics for the most part on Sundays, and we do that stream at Sunday 9 p.m. Eastern. And throughout the week, you guys will get at bare minimum 2 videos from me a week, maybe more because I've been kind of ODing recently. But that is what you guys get from me. You get 4 pieces of content uploaded to my channel every week, and that has been what I've stuck to for like the last year. And in doing so, I've seen growth really fast. I've seen engagement really fast. I've seen amazing words, amazing kind words, people that have watched my videos for the first time. So I appreciate y'all. No matter where you come from, either if it's a stream you found or a video you found, I appreciate y'all. I try to provide a little bit of everything for the nerd realm of things. So y'all stay tuned in. And again, if y'all want to help a boy out, because I brought it up earlier, that God of War video that I put up yesterday, please go check that video out and give those hype points to that video, because that video is playing. That video is doing like some ass right now. That shit is putting up 2011 LeBron numbers right now in the finals, bro. That shit was. I thought that video was gonna do well, but that video is not doing well. So if you guys are interested at all in the situation with the God of War adaptation, or just my thoughts on gaming adaptations as a whole, go check that video out, and please do me a favor and throw some hype points at that video. If you're on a mobile version of your phone, you go to the video, go to the comment section, scroll from right to left, and they have hype points there. That's like a new thing that YouTube implemented to help kind of push smaller creators on the platform a little bit more aggressively. So save those hype points for me, please, for those videos. And again, if it's your first time here, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell, y'all. And in regards to the news that is coming out, again, for people that are not aware, because again, it's your first time here, I'm also a co-owner of a comic book company, Echelon Graphic Novels. So if you're a big comic book fan and want some more indie comics to check out, and I also recommend you guys check out indie comics, if you go to echelonGnovels.com, you'll see a lot of the books that we have there, as well as my own book that I've written in Reaper issue 1 is there. And I bring all this up to say that if you guys are going to find yourself in the Durham, North Carolina area for LoreCon, I will be there. Ernie will be there. Dr. Curry Knight is not coming. She had some stuff pop up, but us and the rest of the Echelon team will be there selling Echelon books, as well as doing some panels. But also, me and Ernie have a very, very special announcement for a book that we are doing. We're doing a crossover book. And I don't mind giving that information out here because y'all are the fam. But we will be doing a crossover book called Tales from the Shadows, which will be a crossover for my book Reaper and Ernie's book Heart of the Darkness. We're going to see a crossover for that book, and I'm excited. We have, and matter of fact, while we're here, I'll show y'all some cover art for some stuff that we have on the horizon that we got done, because we've been putting a lot of work behind the scenes getting this book ready for you guys to see. This is the A cover for the book. I don't know if I don't want to blow this up so y'all can see this a bit better. But this is the A cover for the book, Tales of the Shadows. And the B cover for it is a Yu Yu Hakusho inspired book that we got made, because when I was writing it, I had some Yu Yu Hakusho jokes in the script that y'all get to see when I read the comic. And we have like, I think 2 more covers on the way too. We have a Sinners inspired cover that we're doing, and we have because Ernie's from Memphis and the story takes place in Memphis, we're doing a Memphis rap album cover that's gonna be kind of fucking dope. I'm excited to see. Outside of that, I have one more book that is going to be a ways away, because the production on it has not started yet, and I'm going to use the money that I make from the Kickstarter we're going to launch for Tales of the Shadows on production for this book, and that is my book Oscarville. I'm doing a 5-issue horror series that I'm excited about. That I have covers for it done. I have 2 covers for it done. Well, 3. All 3 of the covers done. This is the A cover that you guys will see. So when I do the official announcement, you guys will see this cover for Oscarville. And if you guys are from the Atlanta, Georgia area, or familiar with Lake Lanier, y'all get the title. Y'all kind of get the idea where we're going with this. But this is Oscarville. I'm excited for this one. This is probably my favorite book that I've written thus far, because I had to dig deep in my bag. 1, to write women, and 2, to get into my horror bag. Other covers. Where's the other covers for it? We got 2 more covers here. Here's another cover. This is like a Sinners inspired cover, I guess, that we ended up doing for it, that you guys will get to see. And this is the final variant cover. I'm tempted to make this cover exclusive to my comic shop because if you guys are in the Atlanta area, you guys can go to Oxford Comics and Games and Collectibles, the biggest and best comic shop here in Atlanta, and you will see Reaper issue 1 in the shop there. It's the only place that I have my books physically in shop right now. And I may make this an exclusive cover to the shop. We'll see. And that is all that I have. Oh, last thing too, not even related to my own book. There is a Kickstarter going on for a good friend of mine, Dr. Kaori Knight. If you guys watch the Sunday show, you guys will see she has her book Death by Secret going on, and she's a Kickstarter for. It's her first comic book. That's a serial killer-esque comic, a serial killer that kills. Think like a fucked up version of Dexter, but Dexter has like Shikamaru's shadow jutsu powers. Essentially, is the best way I can describe it from just looking at it from behind the scenes. That's what you're gonna see out of Death by Secret. And the Kickstarter, if you're looking for it, is in the description below. I have the link there. She is making a lot of momentum on that Kickstarter thus far, and y'all help me help her cross that finish line on that book because I really want to see her succeed in getting that book out there. But yeah, Joseph Ashley said it's hard to write. Is it hard to write women? It's not a hard thing to do, but because I'm not a woman, I have to make sure that the way I'm writing women is authentic, and also I'm trying to look at things from a woman perspective in regards to what would make a woman terrified in this moment, what would make a woman do X, Y, and Z, or how I would write this story. And because I am a man, it's a little bit more difficult. Like it's more difficult. Maybe it's not as difficult as it is me second guessing things a lot. I don't have to second guess how a black man would write something or how he would say something because that's me all day. I know. But I'm not a woman, especially not a white woman. So I got to make sure that I'm able to write these things in a way that's organic and also is good towards the story. And that script is the one I'm most proud of right now because it's my most recent script, and I put a lot of fucking time and effort into that script, and I had a couple people look it over. So I'm excited to get that book out there. That may be my favorite one of that. Hopefully, big goal, long-term goal down the line that I'm gonna speak this into existence and manifest this. One of these books that we put out, whether it be Tales of the Shadows, Reaper issue 2, or Oscar, I will be Eisner nominated for like best new indie book or just best new book, or maybe I'll get an Eisner nomination. I'm not saying I'm gonna win this shit, but I'll get an Eisner nomination. I'm gonna be at San Diego Comic-Con because of that shit. That is me speaking this into existence. I gotta just go really hard at promoting this book and pushing this book and getting this book into the indie space as much as possible and getting people to check these books out so they can, hopefully enjoy it or hopefully everyone take a look at it. But that's what my big goal is for me as a writer. My goal is to get the Eisner nomination, or at bare minimum, get my books in the right person's hands to where maybe I get a chance to go write for another publisher at some point. I want to keep growing Echelon, obviously, but it would be good. It would be dope to see if I go to like Dynamite Comics and get the right 5-issue Gargoyle series, or get the right an Atlantis series, or some of the IP that I've been really a big fan of. Maybe Image checks me. I don't know. We'll see, but all that starts me getting my own books out there and showcasing what I'm capable of doing. So again, if you guys want to check some stuff out that I've done, again, Reaper issue 1 is on the Echelon Graphic Novels website. You guys can get it in digital or order in physical there to see what I can do. And then again, I'll have literally 3 books coming out within this next year that you guys will get to see that I'm excited about. But that is all that I have. Drew, if you didn't know, Gargoyles comics are already being made right now. I think there's one that just came out. There's a Demona book, and I think another Gargoyles book. So y'all can do that. But yeah, that's it. JP, you got anything you want to cover before we get up out of here?
No, man. Just as my boy sending this stuff out, his books, his streams, just like y'all being tuned in. Like I see 26 people. I don't know what you see, but like just seeing y'all
30
tuned
people
in
right now currently watching.
Yeah,
so
man.
I appreciate y'all. We've been like 29 to 30 strong the entire stream.
And I just appreciate. I was just looking at the lounge numbers, man. Like we consistently in the hundreds, man. So y'all guys tune in. Y'all like what we have to say, so it just means a lot from the bottom of our hearts. So appreciate y'all.
That's a good feeling. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like the streams, I wasn't sure how well the streams would do, especially when we doing 2 of them and one being like just comic book oriented. But like every week, if not live, people are like, it's part of their weekly routine to go back and watch those streams. Like at least the same couple hundred people and maybe more going forward. But again, to the people that found this stream for the first time, thank y'all. Hopefully y'all come back. Hopefully we presented enough of an entertaining stream for y'all to come back and check out more of them, or even go back and check out the ones we've done in the past. We'll see. But that is the goal. So again, thank y'all so much for tuning in to episode 60. What is it, 64, 65?
I think 64.
64 of the Captain's Lounge. Again, every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, y'all will be here watching us live on this channel going through some topics. So again, next week y'all will expect us to cover the second episode of Lanterns, and we'll have some other I may just do one other extra topic to keep the show from being fucking like 3 hours.
Yeah. If it's something real juicy, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. My man DeAndre. Oh, DeAndre. I don't know why I was struggling to read your name. DeAndre. Thoughts on the Yanu comic and animated series? Funny enough, I did a whole video on the Yanu on the channel right now. I have.
We'll check it out.
Yeah, funny enough, I got a signed copy of the trade because I met the creators of the Yanu at BlurCon last year, or it was either last year or the year before. At the booth in BlurCon, I got a signed copy of the trade, and I did a whole video. Funny enough, I think I put the video and like the creator as well as like some people from the creative team follow me after I put out my Yano video, put the clips out. So I got a whole video about Yano on the channel that you guys you can go check out if you want to see my thoughts on the season. Well, at that point, it was only for the first season. I think they already announced like the movie and other seasons of it or whatever it may be. Yeah. It says Jordan the Reaper in the comic? No. Jordan is not the Reaper in the comic. That is James a little bit more. James a little couple shades too darker to be Jordan.
Yeah.
James is James. I'm gonna do a video soon breaking down Reaper myself. Funny enough, I've never covered my own comic on the channel.
You should do that.
I'm trying to wait until we announce Tales of the Shadows, so it'll be part of the rollout for it. But I'm gonna do a video breaking down my journey of like writing it, where inspirations came from, the process of making the book. Y'all will get all that here in like probably next month in regards to all that stuff. Action Pack asked, did I find it easier or more difficult to collaborate on a comic as opposed to writing it yourself? It was, so the process was easy just because Ernie is really easy to work with, and me and Ernie already have a pretty good rapport. The only difficulty was, maybe the difficulty, it was just a little nerve-wracking, was it was my first time writing for someone else's character and someone else's universe. Because for the way we did Tales of the Shadows, I wrote the first 12 pages, Ernie wrote the next, like, I think 14 pages, and then I wrote the last, like, final 3. So I was not only doing an introduction for my own character, but I was doing an introduction for Ernie's character. Luckily, I read his book already and covered it and did a whole video on it on the channel. So if you guys want to go learn more about Heart of the Darkness, it's already on the channel. But I feel like I had a pretty solid understanding of how Kellen talked and how that universe worked. So apparently I did a good job because Ernie fucked with what I did for it, and he didn't have too many notes. So I was really happy to be able to write for someone else's character and that be well received by the creator. And that just, again, preps me for down the line if I ever get a chance to work on an established IP for somebody else's publication. I got my experience there. But for the most part, it was pretty easy. Me and Ernie had pretty similar ideas and what we expected, what we wanted out of this book. So it wasn't that difficult. Going forward, maybe more difficult with other people, but for me, Ernie, that was pretty solid. So honestly, it's such a good experience. Me and Ernie have already talked about other books we're going to collab on when it comes to Tales of the Shadows, because the way I'm having Tales of the Shadows set up with Echelon is essentially just going to be a detective comics type of situation for Echelon, where we'll use this to be a place where we get to collaborate and like have crossover stories or one-shot specials or whatever it may be. That'll be the logo and the title we put on all those books going forward. And we are already talking about doing a collaboration with one of his books that he's doing now and Oscarville down the line. So I'm excited. But y'all, we need to get up out of here because I need to play me some video games. We got friends waiting on us. Again, if y'all play Warframe, side note.
Yeah, if y'all think it's play Warframe, put the plug in here. Put the plug in here.
If y'all have not played Warframe at all, do so. It is a free game. Honestly, I think it's the most ethical live service game out there, and honestly, it's probably one of the better games out there with one of the best dev teams and creative teams possible. It's a free-to-play game that you can get on any console. Hell, you can play this shit on your phone right now. It's a free-to-play game. There's like over 400 hours of content in there. All the expansions are free. Everything in the game that's cosmetic, you can buy whatever it may be, but you can't pay to win in this game. It's a co-op game. Right now, there is a clan that I have set up for the Dojo. So if y'all want to join the game, join the Dojo, please go to the description below, find the Discord link there, and y'all can hop in the Discord and drop your usernames in there. I can start adding y'all to the clan, and I can start playing the game with more of the homies in the channel, some of the subs, and we can have more sub nights. But yeah, we've been trying to grow the clan Dojo for a minute now, grow the clan to try to get more subs and more people in there. So I've never made an official PSA for that, but y'all go do that. And also, more gaming content will be on the way soon. I do want to do streams for Phantom Blade Zero when it drops, because the last full game stream I did all the way through was when I played Black Myth Wukong from start to finish. And I'm honestly happy. I'm proud of myself for beating that game all the way through. That last fight was some shit. That took a lot out of me. But I'm excited to do more gaming content and more gaming streams. So y'all will probably get more of those in the future as well as regular streams. So yeah. Oh yeah, nah. Any game I play going forward, Just Vassal will be on PC. The only thing that will be on PS5 is an exclusive. So Wolverine, if I decide to do that live, we'll see. If y'all want that, I'll stream the Wolverine game, depending on how some games I just want to play for myself and not stream it. But we'll see how I feel about that. I may just play one by myself. But Phantom Blade Zero for sure is getting. You know what? I may flip that. I may just do Wolverine on live and play Phantom Blade Zero offline for myself. We'll figure that out. But I'm rambling long enough, y'all. Thank y'all so much again for pulling up and showing out. This has been Captain Diesel of Captain Diesel's Dojo. Y'all, before you leave, remember, forever and always.
You're now watching the captain.
And we'll see y'all next week. Or, hell, I'll see y'all this Sunday. Peace.